This is Chesterton Radio, your home for podcasts of works by G.K. Chesterton, plus drama, comedy, mystery, science fiction, big bands, and much more. The soundtrack to your Chesterton day at ChestertonRadio.com.
The Aldrich Family, based on characters originated by Clifford Goldsmith, and starring Ezra Stone as Hen-ree, with Jackie Kelk as Homer.
Hen-ree Al-drich.
Coming, Mother.
And now for the Aldrich Family. To a typical teenage boy like Hen-ree Al-drich, every holiday is naturally a red-letter day. And whatever the celebration, Hen-ree is always certain to be right in the center of it, adding a little color of his own. The scene opens at the Aldrich breakfast table. It's the week before Christmas.
Sam, I'm just as pleased as I can be.
Yes, what about?
Hen-ree. He's been so helpful this past week. And, dear, do you know what I think?
What?
He's really growing up.
You know what I think?
What?
Christmas is just around the corner.
Sam Aldrich, you're just being cynical.
No, Alice, I'm just experienced. Any time now, he'll start in dropping hints.
What hints?
About what he'd like us to give him for Christmas.
Sam, if he does, it's just because he's trying to be helpful.
Father, are you in the dining room?
Yes, Hen-ree.
Hiya, Father, old-timer.
Here we go.
I thought you might like your pipe here.
Thank you, Hen-ree.
Can I fill it for you?
No, thank you.
Or strike a match and light it?
No, thanks.
Gee whiz, isn't there anything I can do?
Would you care to smoke it for me?
Sam!
Hen-ree, is there something special on your mind? Something you want to say?
Why, no, sir. I'm just passing the time of day.
I see.
Only, now that I think of it, did I mention that swell football game I saw?
When, dear?
Thanksgiving Day. Boy, it was some game.
It was?
Yeah. Too bad I didn't enjoy it.
You didn't? Why not?
I don't know. You take a football game and you sit way back in the stands, see? And if you're not equipped, where are you?
Where?
You're right. It sure makes you think, doesn't it?
Hey, Hen-ree.
Oh, gee whiz. I'll be right with you, Homer. Excuse me.
Hen-ree, wouldn't you like to be a little more explicit?
Sure, Father. The game I missed the best part of was the one we came closest to winning all season. Hi, Homer.
Listen, Hen-ree, when are you going to casually show that advertisement to my father?
What? I'll tell you.
Oh, gee whiz, don't you want him to make me happy for Christmas?
Homer, I intend to show it to him. Just as soon as I find it.
You lost it?
Not permanently. I was eating some cookies the other night, see? And the next thing I knew, your ad had disappeared. Temporarily.
You mean you ate it?
Ate it? Now that I think of it, that last cookie was kind of chewy.
Henry, I'll never get that piccolo if you go around eating up my ad.
Besides, Homer, if you ask me, you ought to be more subtle about that piccolo.
Who's not subtle? I'm not subtle.
Look, for Christmas, I want those binoculars down into Havens, right?
Right.
So I just subtly drop a few hints and mention that I wasn't able to see the Thanksgiving football game from way back where I sat. And right away, they know it's binoculars I want.
They do.
Sure. Only they just try to worry me by pretending they don't understand.
Gee, Henry, you're right. You have to be subtle. You know what I'm going to do?
What?
Just a few days before Christmas, I'm going to give my father a box of good cigars.
Cigars?
Sure, and right inside I'll put a copy of that piccolo ad. How's that for being subtle?
Henry!
Yes?
Holding me.
Of course not, Homer. I just said suppose you were.
Oh.
So, if you were this certain party, would you prefer a pen and pencil set or a 3-speed blanket?
You're buying me a blanket that travels at 3 speeds?
I should have known better than to ask you a simple question. Mother!
Wait a minute, Mary. Ask me again. Ask me again.
Mother, are you in the kitchen?
Mary, dear, I'll be right back. Sam!
But, Mother, I just want to ask you what I should buy Kermit for Christmas. Sam,
Look what I just found in the cookie jar, an advertisement.
Someone's advertising in our cookie jar?
Here, don't you get it? Henry put it there for us to find.
Oh, let me see it. Are you never the life of the party? Buy one of our piccolos and stop playing second fiddle. $6.75 delivered. Alice, a piccolo?
Sam, that's what he wants for Christmas.
Engraved with bluebirds, $1 extra.
That would be lovely.
But, Alice, where does a football game enter into a piccolo?
Here, it's obvious.
It is?
Of course. Henry wants to play in the school band.
What?
Yes, dear, so he can sit right on the sidelines and get a perfect view.
DeHaven.
I'll be right with you, boys.
Look, Homer, there are my binoculars.
Where?
Right there in the store window, next to that sign that says, "Make Mother happy for Christmas with a personalized darning egg."
Now, what can I do for you boys?
Mr. DeHaven, I'd like a box of your best cigars.
Yes, sir. We have an excellent brand here that comes all wrapped for Christmas.
That's swell. I'll take it.
Good. That'll be $11.50.
How much?
$11.50.
That 11 you're speaking of, is that dollars?
It is.
Gee whiz, all I have is $1.25.
Mr. DeHaven, could I please try these binoculars in the window?
Very well, Henry, but be careful.
Gee, thanks.
Mr. DeHaven, don't you have cigars without quite so much tobacco that come for about $1.25?
No, I'm afraid not. Why not get your father something else?
Not cigars?
We have some nice simulated plastic picture frames.
Picture frames?
Yes, you could slip your picture in one of them and give that to your father.
My picture? And watch my piccolo go right out the window?
Well, then I'm afraid there's nothing I can do, Homer. Now, be careful with those binoculars, Henry.
Yes, Mr. DeHaven. All I'm doing is looking through them.
Boy, imagine, $11.50 for cigars. People sure do burn up money.
Boy, Homer, boy, are these binoculars neat.
Let me look through them, Henry. Let me look.
Okay, but take it easy, Homer.
Hey, you see Agnes Lawson down by the soda fountain?
Yeah?
You know how much her check is? Only 5 cents.
Gee, are those binoculars as powerful as that? Excuse me, Homer.
Who are you phoning?
My father, to drop another hint.
Number, please.
Elm 992.
Henry, while you're calling, I think I'll join Agnes.
What for?
I've owed her a treat for a long while, and boy, this looks like a good time to pick up her check.
Hello?
Hello, Father.
Henry, I've got to meet your mother. What is it?
Why, nothing in particular. I just happened to be down here in DeHaven's drugstore, and I saw.
Saw what?
Nothing, Father. But don't you think it's pretty interesting to be able to see a check from as far off as 20 feet?
See a what?
A check.
Henry, what are you driving at?
Driving at, Father? I? Well, gee, I just called to pass the time of day.
Yes, but...
Well, now that I've passed it, so long, Father.
Henry, where's Homer?
Over there with Agnes and Mr. DeHaven. If things go right, my parents ought to be in for these binoculars sometime today.
Good. Did I mention there's no extra charge for the leather case?
They come in a case?
Oh, yes, with a strap that goes around your neck.
Boy, that's a fine thing.
Say, Homer, I found a sample box of 15 cigars that I can let you have for $1.25.
But, Mr. DeHaven, all I have now is $1.
What?
Agnes's check was 25 cents.
I thought it was only 5.
So did I. Only she was deliberately holding her thumb over the 2.
May I help you, sir?
Yes. Do you sell checkers at this counter?
Oh, we do indeed. Would you like to see them in wood, plastic, or reinforced cardboard?
Well...
Or if you want to go whole hog, we have a dandy set in hand-carved ivory.
Well, it really doesn't matter what the checkers are made of, just so that they're big enough to be seen from 20 feet off.
20 feet?
Yes.
Oh, wouldn't it be rather inconvenient to play from that distance?
Well, it sounds ridiculous to me, too, but as near as I can figure out, that's what my son wants for Christmas.
Well, if you'll just wait a minute, I'll see if we have any large checkers in stock.
Thank you.
Father!
Oh.
Father, what are you doing down here at the Emporium?
I was supposed to meet your mother at the information counter 10 minutes ago.
Oh. Well, she still has time. By the way, Father, does a leather case with a strap that goes around your neck mean anything to you?
No, why?
I ran into Henry, and he said if I saw you to casually mention that what he wants for Christmas comes in one.
You don't say.
And, Father, I have a problem.
Yes?
Well, if you knew a certain party that was, well, close to you.
Close to you?
Yes. And suppose you wanted to get him something very special for Christmas to show him how you feel about him, what would you get?
Why, well, I really don't feel I should say.
Father, you must tell me.
Well, naturally, Mary, I'm sure whatever you get him, he'll be crazy about. But if I were that man, you know what I'd really like?
What?
Well, a new hunting rifle?
My goodness.
You're right, Mary. It's too expensive.
Oh, I'm not worried about the money.
No?
No, it's coming out of my special campaign fund.
Well, Mary, I hardly know what... Well, that is, I'm certainly... Mary.
Father, my goodness, you kissed me right in the middle of the emporium.
I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's quite all right.
And could you please tell me which way to guns?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, I know, in sporting goods.
Now, don't you go spending too much, Mary. Nice girl, Mary.
Lovely. Friend?
Daughter.
Oh.
Say, isn't your jewelry department nearby?
2 aisles over, but...
As long as she's going as far as a hunting rifle, I wonder how she'd like a pearl necklace.
But, sir, about those checkers, I've measured all of them, and the largest is 1.25 inches in diameter.
Oh, well, I'll tell you. Does the set come in a leather case?
Why, no.
And it doesn't have a strap that goes around your neck?
No.
Well, thanks. The more I think of it, the more I'm sure we're on the wrong track with checkers.
Well, we have this chess set in leather case.
Chess?
And it's been reduced, and we could have a strap put on it.
No, I'm afraid not. If I don't like chess, why should Hen-ree?
Sam!
Oh, there's my wife. Excuse me.
Dear, I'm sorry I'm late, but I've finished every last bit of our Christmas shopping.
No, you haven't, Alice. We still need a gift for Hen-ree.
Henry? Didn't you send away for that piccolo?
Yes, but he wasn't hinting for a piccolo.
He wasn't?
Not unless a piccolo has something to do with checks you can see 20 feet off and it goes around your neck.
What?
Incidentally, Alice, what do you think of pearls?
Pearls? Why, dear, they're very lovely.
They'd make a nice present for a young lady, wouldn't they?
Oh, my goodness, yes, but aren't they rather expensive?
Alice, in this case, nothing's too good.
Well, naturally, Sam, it's up to you. And, dear, while you're doing your shopping, there's something I ought to take care of, too.
Very well, dear, and try to think what it is Henry's been hinting at.
I will. Excuse me, madam, could you let me by, please? Young man.
Well, back again, madam.
Yes, these ties I bought a little while ago. I'd like to return them.
So soon?
Well...
Our ties don't usually start coming back until after New Year's.
Well, you see, I think I'm getting a pearl necklace for my husband. And I couldn't very well give him just ties in return.
I see. Very well. I'll make out a refund slip.
Thank you. Incidentally, you've had quite a bit of experience with gifts, haven't you?
I certainly have.
Well, what would you say it was that handy at football games, comes in loud checks, and goes around your neck?
Why, madam, that's obvious.
It is?
Yes, you'll find our mufflers right over there at the next counter.
Muffler? But that's incredible. Henry would never... Why, it's incredible.
But, madam, what else could it be?
Mary, you bought Kermit what for Christmas?
A gun, Mother, a gun.
Dear, do you really think you should be giving a man you might eventually marry a thing like that?
But Father thought that's just what Kermit would like. And, Mother, my problem is, what should I have engraved on it?
Engraved?
And on the barrel. I was thinking of something like, to Kermit, peace on earth, goodwill toward men.
Dear, I wouldn't have it engraved until after Christmas.
Why not?
Well, suppose it's the wrong size and has to be returned. And, Mary, wait till you hear what I'm getting from your father.
Hey, Hen-ree. Mrs. Aldrich, have you seen Hen-ree?
Well, I believe he's up in his room, Homer. I'll call him.
Before you tell me what you're getting?
Mary, maybe you can help me out.
With what?
Have you ever had any experience rolling cigars?
Rolling what?
Cigars. I thought if I bought the raw materials and eliminated the middleman, I might get by for $1.
Homer, I've never rolled a cigar in my life.
Hi, Homer.
And I don't think it's a bit nice of you to infer that I have. My goodness.
Homer, Mary didn't mention anything about my family buying those binoculars, did she?
No.
Gee, I went through every hiding place in the house, and the only Christmas present I found was a muffler.
For you?
Gee whiz, no. My parents wouldn't palm a thing like that off on me. You should see it, Homer. Checks as big as that all over.
No kidding.
Boy, it looked like it was on fire.
Hen-ree.
Yes, Homer?
I hate to mention this, but, well, maybe your parents didn't get your hints straight and
what else could they have thought I was heading for? Hello?
Hello, is this Aldrich?
Yes?
Elm 303?
That's right.
Well, this is the Emporium calling. Have you decided on what sort of engraving you want on that hunting rifle?
Hunting rifle?
Yes.
Hunting rifle?
That you bought this afternoon for the young man.
Are you sure you're calling Aldrich?
Yes.
Elm 303?
Yes.
And somebody here bought a hunting rifle?
Yes. Hello?
Oh, boy. Only maybe you shouldn't have told me that.
Oh, it's for you?
You better call back later and speak to either my mother or father. Goodbye. Homer, did you hear that? I'm getting a hunting rifle for Christmas.
Boy, and to think all I asked for was a piccolo.
Boy, oh, that just goes to prove what a few subtle hints can do.
Hen-ree Al-drich. Hen-ree wanted a pair of binoculars for Christmas, but the subtle hints he's been dropping have led his parents to buy him a muffler and a piccolo. Only now, Hen-ree believes they've bought him a hunting rifle, which is really Mary's present to her boyfriend. The scene opens in the Aldrich living room, and it's Christmas Eve.
A snow shovel? Mother, you're giving Father a snow shovel for Christmas?
Mary, let me finish. First, your father will give me my pearl necklace. Then I'll give him his snow shovel. And, Mary, you're going to see the longest face you've ever seen.
Well, I should think so.
And then I'll give him his real present, a lovely chess set in a leather case.
A chess set?
Yes, I saw him admiring it in the Emporium the other day.
Oh, Mother, you're so sweet.
Oh, and, Mary, I feel so warm.
So do I. The house has been so different since Father insulated it.
I didn't mean that. I mean everything's so perfect.
Hello, Mother.
Hello, dear.
Hello, Mary.
Hello, Henry.
Would anybody like me to make them a glass of eggnog?
Eggnog, Henry?
Sure. That's just the thing I'm in the mood to make.
Well, thank you just the same, dear.
Hey, Henry.
Mary, please phone Mrs. Dixon and make sure she launders our good tablecloth in time for Christmas dinner.
Henry, I got that box of cigars from my father.
You did? For $1?
Sure, from Willie Marshall.
I didn't know Willie smoked cigars.
He doesn't. This is a box his uncle sent his father.
No kidding.
Sure. Mr. Marshall said the way he feels about his wife's family, he wouldn't smoke them with a 10-foot pole.
I'll get that.
I don't mind answering it, Mary.
I'm practically there. Hello?
Hello, Mary. This is Kermit.
Oh, hello, Kermit.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How have you been?
Fine, Kermit.
You had the sniffles when I left last night, and I've been worried.
You have? Isn't that sweet?
How are they?
Who?
The sniffles.
Oh, fine.
I've just finished my Christmas shopping.
You have? Kermit, I certainly hope you didn't get anything from me.
Well,
Oh, Kermit, you shouldn't have.
It's something you wear on your hand.
Really? Kermit, you're teasing.
No, I'm not, and they're made of pigskin.
Oh.
That's all the hint I'm going to give you.
Oh. Well, I certainly hope you won't ask me to give you any hints about what I got you.
I won't.
You won't? Well, I'll give you a tiny hint. Just keep your eye on the bullseye.
On the bullseye?
And I'm not going to say another word.
Gee, that's a puzzler.
It is.
I can't think of what it could be, unless it's a gun.
A gun?
But I know you wouldn't be foolish enough to buy a thing like that.
What?
Not for a guy who served 4 years in the infantry.
Well, naturally, I didn't. Why would I? Oh, my goodness.
Is anything wrong, Mary?
No, but I have to hang up.
Are your sniffles coming back?
Kermit, I haven't time to explain. Goodbye. Oh, my goodness.
Whiz, Mary, what's wrong?
Henry, out of my way. Don't you realize all the stores close at 7 tonight?
Are you looking for something in that closet, Mary?
My goodness, I hope it isn't too late.
Mary, what are you doing?
Henry, let go. I've got to return this right away.
Return it. Listen, Mary, put that down.
Henry, out of my way.
Mother! Mary, don't you move another step. Mother!
Henry, I warn you.
What's all the shouting about?
Mother, Mary's going to return my Christmas present.
Mary, that muffler's for Henry.
Muffler?
I'm returning Kermit's gun.
Kermit's gun?
Kermit?
Now, please, let me go, Henry. I'll never be able to return it in time.
But...
Henry, you didn't think that gun was for you instead of Kermit, did you?
Why...
For Hen-ree, Alice. For Hen-ree. If that gun was for anyone, it was for...
For whom?
Kermit. And excuse me,
Where are you going?
up to my room. And I hope Mary's very happy with her pearls.
Mary? The pearls are for... My goodness.
Boy, that's a fine thing.
Henry, where are you going?
Out, Mother. Just out.
Dear, you haven't got your coat on.
Gee, who cares?
Well, at least take your new muffler.
Mother, I'd rather not even mention that muffler.
Hey, Henry. Henry, what are you doing on the curb?
Sitting, Homer. Gee whiz, what does it look like?
I've been looking for you for nearly 2 hours. Merry Christmas.
Sure. Merry Christmas.
I heard about the gun being for Kermit. Tough luck.
That's okay, Homer. That's okay. Maybe the better man won.
Henry, don't say that.
Why not? Why not face facts? Gee, and to think I've been looking forward to this Christmas since last Christmas.
I know how you feel. I'm not getting my piccolo either.
No?
I'll be lucky to get anything.
Didn't you give your father those cigars?
Sure, he lit one. You know what happened?
What?
It blew up in his face.
It did?
And Willie won't even give me my money back. He says, is it his fault his uncle doesn't like his father?
What's that?
Bunch of kids singing carols on the library steps.
Boy, you'd think they'd know better than to disturb the peace.
I'll say.
Homer, are you humming?
Me? Oh, gee whiz, I was just checking to see if they're in tune.
Oh, are they?
No. Who's that?
Gee whiz, it's that pest Johnny Dixon again.
Merry Christmas to you all. I just delivered your mother's tablecloth, Henry. Aren't we lucky?
Lucky?
Sure. Look, snow on Christmas Eve. Isn't it neat?
What's so neat about snow? All it does is get under your collar.
And would you mind leaving us alone?
Well, sure, fellas. And I hope your mother's cold gets better, Henry.
Cold? She's got a cold?
Well, that's the way she looked to me. Say, did I show you the swell present I got from my mother? Look, a real aviator's helmet.
Yeah.
Fur lined.
That's swell.
With real fur. Well, I better get home and help her trim the tree. Merry Christmas to you all.
Gee.
Yeah, gee.
Imagine getting all excited about a hat. Henry,
What?
I'm going home.
Homer, you're going to leave me alone on Christmas Eve?
I'm sorry, Henry. That's where I'd rather be.
Gee whiz.
Good night. And Henry,
Yeah?
Merry Christmas.
Hen-ree Al-drich.
Gee whiz, Mother, what are you doing out in the street?
Here's your coat.
Gee, thanks, Mother.
Don't think I'm forgiving you, Henry. But if you get sick, I'm the one who'll have to suffer for it. Now put it on.
Yes, Mother, and look.
Henry, is that you?
Sam.
Alice, what are you doing out here?
Sam, I know we agreed not to speak to Henry, but...
Father, what's that under your arm?
Why,
Gee whiz, it's my lumber jacket.
Henry, I'm still the one who has to pay the doctor's bill.
Gee, thanks.
Well, Alice, shall we go home?
You're going? Before I wish a Merry Christmas to you all?
Why, Merry Christmas, Henry.
Yes. Merry Christmas, son.
Gee, listen to what they're saying. Love and joy come to you, and to you also too, and God bless you. Oh, Father, could I apologize for thinking that gun was for me?
Well, that's all right, son. We all make mistakes.
Sam, I'm so happy.
Henry, I'm just curious. What was it you were heading for all week?
Gee, Father, it was silly. Forget it.
I'm curious.
Well, a pair of binoculars I saw in DeHaven.
Binoculars?
But, gee, they don't compare to a muffler.
Yeah.
Well, shall we all go home now and trim the tree?
Right. I'll tell you, Alice, suppose you go home and start without me. I just remembered I ran out of... cigars.
Don't buy them from Willie, Father. They blow up in your face.
Well, dear, shall we start for home?
What? Before we do, could I go into the store here and put in one phone call?
To whom?
DeHaven's drugstore, and tell Mr. DeHaven not to sell my binoculars before Father gets there.
Listen again next week, same time, same station, for another sparkling half hour with your favorite youngster, his family, and his pals. The Aldrich Family, starring Ezra Stone, is written by Clifford Goldsmith.
The Aldrich Family is distributed nationally by Nostalgia Broadcasting Corporation, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Aldrich Family, based on characters originated by Clifford Goldsmith, and starring Ezra Stone as Hen-ree, with Jackie Kelk as Homer.
Hen-ree Al-drich.
Coming, Mother.
Is a boy, and that's all there is to it. He gets into difficulties somehow, and he gets out of them somehow, like Hen-ree Al-drich. But what happens in between is usually unforgettable. The scene opens at the Aldrich dinner table.
Will you have another piece of cherry pie, Sam?
No, thank you, Alice.
Sam, are you upset about something?
Who, I, Alice? No, what makes you think I'm upset?
Oh, dear, you've hardly spoken during this entire dinner.
Well, frankly, I don't for the life of me see why you had to invite Homer over here for dinner and to spend the night.
Sam, I had to. His mother and father have gone over to Abbott City. And besides, one more person certainly isn't going to make any great difference.
But, Alice, do you realize it's 20 minutes after 8, and we're finishing dinner, and Hen-ree and Homer haven't even shown up yet?
Yes, dear, and I'm going to speak to both of them. Although the only thing I feel bad about is these potato pancakes.
And that's another thing, Alice. How did we happen to have potato pancakes?
Well, I was going to have creamed cauliflower, but Homer says he doesn't eat it.
That's still no excuse for potato pancakes.
Sam, they're one of Homer's favorite dishes. That's also why I went to the trouble of making a cherry pie. Homer loves cherries.
Then I say the least he could have done was to have been here in time to eat them. Just where are the boys? Can't we phone them someplace?
Well, I don't know where they are. They left here right after school and went out to sell war bonds.
They're selling war bonds?
Yes, dear. They've both been made Minutemen.
Minutemen? Well, they're an hour and a quarter late. Alice, how do you know something hasn't happened to them?
Now, Sam, just be sensible. They certainly aren't very far away. Oh, that may be Hen-ree right now. He wants you to come and get him someplace.
You tell Henry that wherever he is, he's to start for home at once.
Yes, dear. Hello? Yes, Mrs. Kendall. This is Mrs. Aldrich. Oh, really? Really, this afternoon? You don't say so. Well, Mrs. Kendall, I'll tell him. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Alice, did you tell him his dinner's getting cold?
Sam, that was Mrs. Kendall, and she's terribly upset.
Yes? What's the trouble?
Well, she just discovered Hen-ree made out a war bond pledge for her to sign, and she thought it was for $100 and it was for $1,000.
Yes?
And he also left one of his fur-lined gloves there.
At the Kendalls? Alice, the Kendalls live at least a mile and a half out of town.
Yes, dear, on the North Road. But a mile and a half isn't so far.
I know, but it started to snow. It's snowing hard, and I say they ought to be here.
Did you get your folks, Hen-ree?
No, Homer. Gee whiz, the line's still busy.
Boy.
Every time I call him, it seems to be busy.
Boys, we just had a phone call for you.
You did, Mrs. Cooper, from my father?
From your father?
No, for Mrs. Snyder. She lives about a mile on up the road.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes, she called to ask whether you know you left one of your overshoes at her house.
We did. Oh, boy, look, it's mine.
Now, listen, homie, you're getting more darn careless.
Well, I can't remember everything, Henry. I have to carry all our pencils and all our bond information, don't I?
Hey, aren't you boys sort of hungry?
Hungry?
I've got some nice corned beef and cabbage out in the kitchen. I could warm up for you.
Oh, no, Henry's mother has a swell dinner waiting for us. She fixed some potato pancakes and a cherry pie, just because I like them.
Potato pancakes and cherry pie.
Sure. As a matter of fact, I like any kind of cherries, just so long as they're canned.
Well, you're easy to please, aren't you?
Jane.
Yes, Will, I'll be right there.
Henry, don't you think you ought to try phoning your folks again?
Well, I'll try, Homer. But my folks know we're out selling bonds, and if they aren't worried, why should we get upset?
I'll answer it, Alice. If that's the boys, I want to speak to them. Hello? Yes, this is Samuel Aldrich.
Who is it, Sam?
It's long distance.
Oh, my goodness.
Hello?
Sam, who is it?
Hello? Alice, it's Homer's mother.
Oh, my goodness, from way over in Abbott City?
Yes, Elizabeth, Homer's fine. No, he's no trouble at all. Mrs. Aldrich made some potato pancakes for him tonight, and you want to speak to him? Well, Elizabeth, right this minute, he and Henry stepped out for a few minutes, but there's nothing to worry about, I don't think. Yes, Elizabeth, we'll see that he wears his overshoes. Yes, goodbye.
Sam, do you realize it's going on 9 o'clock?
Well, what if it is?
But don't you realize it's snowing out and Henry has only one glove?
I know it, Alice, but you told me not to worry.
Dear, if Elizabeth Brown was worried enough to call all the way from Abbott City, it seems to me the least you can do is worry a little. Sam, let me answer it. I'll see who it is. Hello? Yes, this is Mrs. Aldrich. Yes, Mr. Edmonds. My goodness, 2 hours ago? His earmuffs? Well, thank you so much. Goodbye.
Where is he?
Henry left his earmuffs at the Edmonds out on the North Road nearly 2 hours ago.
At the Edmonds? That means they're getting farther and farther away from home.
And Sam, just listen to that wind howl out there.
Well, I know what I'm going to do.
Sam, where are you going?
Get my hat and coat.
You mean you're going to look for them? But, Sam, do you think you can drive the car through this snowstorm?
Now, don't worry about me, Alice. It's the boys you've got to think about. Those boys comfortable in the other room, Jane?
Yes, Will. And, Will, don't say anything, but I'm going to surprise them.
Yes?
I'm going to fix them some potato pancakes and open a can of cherries.
Yeah. Was that all?
Well, one of them says it's all he ever eats.
Yes?
Mr. Cooper?
Yes, sir. I'll be right there.
Mr. Cooper, are you sure your phone works all right?
I don't know why it shouldn't. You boys wouldn't like to stay overnight, would you?
Oh, no thanks. If we don't get home before long, my folks might begin to wonder where we are.
Sorry we couldn't buy a bond from you boys. If we only had some way to get our cow into town and sell her, I'd be able to buy one.
You would, Mr. Cooper?
Yeah, but my truck's broken down.
Henry, why couldn't we help him get his cow into town?
Sure. We could walk her in for you.
Well, if you want to come out and get her someday, she's right out there in the barn.
And you'll buy a war bond?
We'll turn every cent we can get for her into bonds.
Will, where's the can opener?
Just a minute, Jane. I'll be right there.
Boy, Henry, I'll bet if we could sell that cow, we'd get $50 for her.
50, Homer. 50? Are you crazy?
Is that too much for a good cow?
Too much, Homer. Gee whiz, I heard of a cow once selling for $1,000.
$1,000?
Or maybe it was $2,000 or $3,000.
Just an ordinary cow?
What do you mean ordinary? She gave something like 5 tons of butter a year. Does that sound very ordinary?
5 tons of butter?
Sure.
Are you sure it was butter?
Homer, the point is we can sell Mr. Cooper a bond.
Oh. Well, listen, Henry, is that the wind I hear outside?
Boy, we ought to be getting started for home.
What do you say we take a look out the front door?
Put your things on first, Homer.
I'm putting them on.
Come on, let's take a look out here.
Oh, boy. Henry, do you think we ought to go home tonight?
We've got to. Don't you realize we're going to sell more bonds tomorrow, and we've got to get an early start?
Well, that's true. Well, let's get started. Oh, Mrs. Cooper.
Mrs. Cooper! Mr. Cooper! I wonder where they are.
Henry, don't leave that door open like that. Close it and come on.
Okay. Now, don't push me, Homer.
I'm not pushing you. I'm just hanging on to you.
Listen, Homer, I've got an idea. Boy, if we can do it.
Thank you. I understand Henry and a friend of his were out here, and I thought you might give me some information as to which way they went.
Well, as I recall it, they were here about 6 o'clock. Mr. Edmonds bought a bond from them. Oh, and incidentally, here are Henry's earmuffs.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But I have no idea as to which direction they went from here, Mr. Aldrich.
No. Do you mind if I use your phone, Mrs. Edmonds?
No, help yourself. It's right here.
Hello?
Number, please.
Elm 303.
Elm 303.
Please.
You mean your boy's lost?
Oh, no. No, Henry isn't lost, but it's getting on toward 10 o'clock, and naturally we feel more comfortable.
Hello?
Hello, is this you, Alice?
Yes, dear. Where are you?
I'm out at the Edmonds.
Well, my goodness, Sam, they announced on the radio that the storm was getting worse and the cars were getting stuck. And I phoned for a tow truck to go out and find you.
Alice, why did you do that?
Because I hadn't heard from you, Sam. Did you find the boy?
No, Alice, I thought that maybe by this time you would have some word from them.
Well, I've had one phone call, Sam, from the Joneses.
The Joneses?
They live out on the North Road. And Mr. Jones says Henry and Homer had been there, and that after they left, he found an automatic pencil with your name on it.
My pencil?
Yes, dear.
Well, that's a fine thing. Alice, I'm going to have a talk with Henry.
Now, dear, let's not worry about a pencil at a time like this. Let's find the boys.
All right.
Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye. Mrs. Edmonds.
Yes, Mr. Aldrich.
Which direction do the Joneses live from here?
Well, you want to go on out this road about 2 more miles.
2 miles?
Yes. Are the boys out there?
No, but they've been out that way.
Mr. Aldrich, I've just been talking with Mr. Edmonds, and he's going to take his car and work in the other direction.
You sure it won't be too much trouble?
No, not at all. He went to bed a little early tonight, but just as soon as he gets his clothes on, he'll be starting.
Oh, thanks. Some night out.
Mr. Aldrich, don't you want me to get you a paper bag to put those earmuffs in?
No, thank you. I'll put them right on.
Boy, is this some night, Homer?
Keep your head down, Henry, and sort of walk backwards.
What do you think I'm doing? Boy.
Henry, look ahead. There's a truck or something.
Where?
Right down the road. It's just standing there.
Oh, boy. Come on.
I'm coming. There's only so fast I can go, though, Henry. Gee whiz, I'm not Hercules.
Look, Homer, it's a tow truck. Hey, mister. Mister.
Who's that?
It's us. Can you give us a lift, please?
Okay, if I can get out of this drift here.
Well, gee whiz, are you going all the way into Centerville?
Yep. Just as soon as I find a car I'm out looking for. Hop on the back.
Well, look, do you have room for a cow on your truck?
What's that?
We've got this cow, see? We're taking her into town for a guy, and we're going to surprise him.
You're what?
Sure. He wants to buy a bond.
Say, ain't she cold?
Oh, gee, no. We got 2 blankets tied around her.
Jane, how are you coming? Shall I tell the boys to come into their supper?
Not for another minute, Will. I want to get these potato pancakes a little bit browner.
I knew all the time we'd find a can of cherries down the cellar. Just a case of our keeping on, we located them.
Didn't I hear Bess mooing when we came up from the cellar?
Well, what if you did? She's all right.
She's good and warm out there in the barn.
Of course she is. She likes the cold.
All right, Will. You better call them.
Boys, Mrs. Cooper has a little surprise for you. Boys.
Tell them to hurry right up, Will.
Boys. Oh, boys!
Bess, come on. Come with Henry.
You know, Henry, she isn't a bad cow, is she?
No, she isn't. And I think she likes walking better than she did riding on that truck.
Boy, that wasn't a lot of work. We just nicely got her on the darn thing, and he runs right into another drift.
That driver was a nice guy, though. It was very decent of him to promise to buy a bond from her.
Well, wait a second, Henry, wait a second.
What's the matter?
Have we gotten off the road a little?
Oh, boy, where'd this snowdrift come from? Now, wait, Homer. Get around on the other side of her, and we'll try to back her out. Atta girl.
Well, wait a second, Henry, wait a second. I think she's getting cold around the ears.
Well, what are you going to do?
Tie my muffler around her head. What do you think?
Well, gee whiz, that's a good idea. Then she'll be really comfortable.
Hello? Yes, this is Mrs. Aldrich's residence. Why, no, Mr. Kilmer, I haven't heard a word from Sam. Yes, Mr. Kilmer, they went right out on the North Road. Well, if you don't mind taking your car out on a night like this, I'd certainly appreciate it.
Gee, Homer, it's nice and warm in here.
Yeah, boy. Imagine finding a roadside stand open this time of night.
Boy, I wish we had a little money with us.
I'll say. Something smells good, doesn't it?
Homer, are you sure you tied Bess real tight?
Sure, I tied her with a special slip knot I learned from a guy.
She ought to be very comfortable where we left her. There isn't any wind there or anything.
Something I can do for you, boys?
Oh, why, no, ma'am. We couldn't have a sort of a drink of water, could we?
A drink of water?
Yeah, we've been out in that darn storm, and are we thirsty?
Which way are you driving?
We're not driving, we're walking.
Walking?
Yeah, we've been selling war bonds, and I guess we got a little further out than we thought we had.
You've been selling bonds?
Yeah.
Had any dinner?
No, ma'am. That's why we'd sort of appreciate a glass of water, if it wouldn't be too much trouble.
Well, you certainly ought to have something to eat. I'll be glad to fix you up.
Free of charge, free of charge.
You want a hamburger and some soup?
A hamburger?
The only thing is, you don't have any potato pancakes, do you?
Potato pancakes?
And canned cherries? I sort of had my mind made up for those all day.
Potato pancakes?
And do you have any hay?
Any hay?
Sure, for Beth. She's outside.
Hen-ree, she wouldn't want some corn, too, would she?
No, Homer. It might upset her.
Well, I can get you the potato cakes and the cherries, but I can't get you the rest.
Well, that's all right. I think Bess had a little supper before we left anyhow.
Say, boys, have either of you got a shotgun?
What's that? A shotgun?
Yeah, there's a moose outside here.
Gee whiz, a moose!
Scared the daylights out of me. First it made a noise like a cow, and then as it swung around the building here and headed out toward the road, I saw it was a big, shaggy moose.
Homer, come on.
Listen, Hen-ree, I'm not going to chase any moose.
Where'd it go, mister? Where'd it go?
He headed right up the road there.
Homer, aren't you coming? That's Bess. Come on.
Now, getting back to the troubles of Hen-ree Al-drich. Hen-ree and his friend Homer, out selling war bonds, have been unable to get back home in time for dinner because of a heavy blizzard. The scene opens on a road some distance outside Centerville. The time is very late at night.
Aren't you Mr. Aldrich from Centerville? I am. Well, guess you're the fellow I was sent out to tow in. Oh, yeah? How'd you get your car sideways across the road like this?
Well, I've been out looking for my son and a friend of his, and I was driving along, and I know you won't believe me, but coming right up the road toward me, I saw a bear.
What's that?
A big black bear. He was walking on all fours, and I jammed on the brakes and swerved around like this.
Well, Mr. Aldrich, there aren't any bears in this part of the country.
That's what I thought, but I saw it with my own eyes. What's that, another car trying to get by? Hey, what's the trouble there?
There's a fella here says he was just attacked by a bear.
What's that? Look, while you're hooking on, I'll go into this roadside stand here and phone my wife.
Something I can do for you?
Good evening. You have a telephone here?
Sure, right over there by that jukebox.
Well, by the way, you couldn't be fixing something up for me that's hot, could you?
Well, I've got a special on tonight. Potato pancakes.
Potato pancake? No, thanks. I'll just telephone.
Come on, Homer. Come on in the house.
I'm coming. Boy, am I cold.
Mother will fix us up with something right away.
Mother!
Mrs. Aldrich.
Mother! Father!
Gee whiz, do you suppose they've gone out?
Come on, Hen-ree. Let's see what's out in the kitchen.
You know, I think Bess is going to be very comfortable where we left her.
I don't know why she shouldn't be.
Look, Homer, look in the icebox. Your favorite food.
What is it, Hen-ree? What is it?
Potato pancakes.
And boy, do I like 'em cold.
And look, Homer, there's half a cherry pie there.
Oh, boy, we'll split it, Hen-ree.
Here, put it on here over on the kitchen table.
Okay. Oh, boy, what a dinner. Oh, boy.
Now, listen, Homer, when you cut that pie, at least use a knife.
It breaks all right, Hen-ree. It breaks very nicely. Hand me a potato pancake.
Don't bother me, Homer. I just found something.
What?
A note here. It's for my father. It says, Sam. Harriet called and thinks they might have gone to the movies. Have gone down to the movies to look.
Who wrote it?
My mother. Who do you think? Well, I wonder if it's a good picture she's seen.
Aren't you going to eat anything, Henry?
Here, Homer, use a fork. Remember, you're a guest.
I don't need a fork. I'll just roll them up and slip them in.
Answer the phone, will you, while I catch up with you?
Okay.
Homer, won't you please hurry?
I'm going to answer it, Henry. I've got to get my mouth emptied first, though. Hello? Who? Well, this is Homer Brown. Oh, gee whiz, is that you, Mother? Sure, this is Homer. I haven't been any place. Oh, we got a cow, see? A cow! We're going to turn it into war bonds. No, Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich aren't here. They've gone to the movies. Sure. And in a few minutes, I'm going to bed.
Yes, Alice.
My goodness, dear, where have you been?
Where have I been? Where have I been?
Where are the boys? Haven't you found them?
No, Alice. All I found were these earmuffs, this overshoe, and my pencil. Where were you when I was trying to phone you?
Sam, didn't you get my note?
What note?
Oh, of course you didn't, dear. How could you? I've been down to the movies.
You went to the movies?
Yes, dear, and I just called Harriet and gave her a piece of my mind.
What about?
She gets the silliest ideas, Sam. First she called me and said she thought she'd seen the boys going to the movies earlier in the evening. And now what do you think she says?
What?
She says there's a story going around that somebody saw a bear out on the edge of town.
What's wrong with that?
What?
I saw a bear myself.
Now, Sam.
I did, Alice. That's how I got stuck.
Has something gone wrong with the car?
No, it's all right now. I've got it out in front. And what I want to know is where I'm going to look for the boys next. Alice. Did you hear what I just heard?
No, dear. What was it?
Well, I'm not sure, but it sounded like a cow.
Now, Sam, first you see a bear, and then you come home and hear cows.
I don't know what it is I hear, but it certainly is something, and I'm going out to see what it is.
But, Sam... Hello? What's that, Mrs. Edmonds? Mr. Edmonds is back home? He had to leave his car on a hill. Oh, isn't that a shame? Mr. Aldrich left what at your place? His scarf? Well, thank you so much for calling.
Mother!
Goodbye.
Mother, is that you down there?
Hen-ree Al-drich, where are you?
Gee whiz, I've been in bed. Did you see a good picture?
Hen-ree, what's happened to Homer?
Oh, me, Mrs. Aldrich? I'm all right. I just have a little stomach ache.
For some reason, Mother, we weren't able to get to sleep.
May I ask where you've been?
Selling bonds, Mother. And it looks as though we're going to break all the records.
Boy, I'll say. We sold a bond at darn near every place we went to.
But, dear...
Oh, gee, look at my earmuffs. Did I leave these here before I start off today?
Hen-ree, your father found those.
Father? Where is he?
He's outside, dear. And when he comes in, I wouldn't bother him very much.
Is something wrong with him, Mrs. Aldrich?
He's tired, Homer. Very tired. And so much on edge he even thinks he hears a cow.
A cow, Mother?
Yes, dear. He just stepped out to look for one.
Gee whiz, Henry, do you suppose Bess is calling us?
Who?
Bess, Mother, Bess. Our war bond cow.
Sure, Mrs. Aldrich. We're going to surprise a farmer.
Surprise a what?
A farmer, Mother. We're going to sell his cow for him.
Where?
Where?
Hen-ree, where is the cow?
Out in the garage.
In the garage?
Sure, we brought her all the way into town.
Through this storm?
Yes, Mother, but we kept her good and warm.
And we now have a cow out in our garage?
Sure. We even gave her some oatmeal.
Boy, did she lap it up.
Now, dear, oatmeal.
Sure, Mother, we even put some milk on it.
Milk? You gave her some of our milk?
Oh, no, Mrs. Aldrich. We drew some off of her and poured it on the oatmeal.
Well, boys, if I were you, I'd go back upstairs before your father comes in.
Right now?
Right now.
Will you promise to call us, Mrs. Aldrich, if he feels Bess wants us?
Yes, dear.
Come on, Homer. As a matter of fact, I'm beginning to feel the strain a little myself.
Same here. At least I want to lie down.
Alice?
Yes, Sam?
I know you'll say I'm seeing things, but there is a cow in our garage.
Well, yes, dear, of course there is.
What's that?
The boys put her there.
What boys?
Hen-ree and Homer, they're upstairs in bed.
Why didn't you tell me? What did they bring a cow home for?
Well, Sam...
Of all...
Now, Sam, where are you going?
I'm going up and have a talk with them.
Now, Sam, come back here.
What for?
Don't you realize those boys have been selling bonds all day?
That's no excuse, Alice. Think of what I've been through tonight.
But, dear, think of what they've been through, too. They sold a bond at every house they went to.
Yes?
And that cow, Sam, that upset you so. Do you realize what that cow is?
What?
A war bond pledge.
What's that?
Yes, dear. And they led her all the way back to town through this storm and everything. They hadn't even had supper. My goodness, Sam, don't you realize what that means?
But, Alice, they might have given us a little consideration.
Sam, they hadn't even given themselves consideration. There's only one thing that was important, and that was to sell just as many bonds as they possibly could. That's the only spirit with which we're going to win this whole war.
Well...
Mother!
Yes, dear?
Could you come take a look at Homer?
At Homer?
Yes, please. He's beginning to think the cherries in that pie weren't pitted.
Listen again next week, same time, same station, for another sparkling half hour with your favorite youngster, his family, and his pals. The Aldrich Family, starring Ezra Stone, is written by Clifford Goldsmith. The Aldrich Family, based on characters originated by Clifford Goldsmith, and starring Ezra Stone as Henry, with Jackie Kelk as Homer.
Hen-ree Al-drich.
Coming, Mother.
Statisticians tell us that the average American family consists of 4.2 persons. Well, that's the Aldrich family. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich, Mary and Henry add up to 4.2 because Hen-ree Al-drich is a real American boy plus a little something extra. Our scene opens in the Aldrich living room. It is evening.
But, Mary, why won't you listen to reason?
Henry, I've told you I'm not even interested.
But why, Mary? Why? Is it because of something I've done to you?
Henry, I'm not going to argue with you. That's all.
All right, Mary, all right. I won't say another word. Father.
Yes?
Will you please tell Mary that she ought to listen to reason?
Henry, I'm reading my paper, and I'm not going to be mixed up with this.
But gee whiz, here it is Friday night, and if there's one thing I've been wanting to go on all winter, it's a sleigh ride.
With Mary?
No, gee whiz, with anybody.
Henry, it's Joe Graham's party. He hired the sleigh and the horses. I just can't turn around and... Henry Aldrich, you're not going, that's all.
I know why you don't want me. I know. You're afraid I'll ask some girl you don't like.
That has nothing to do with it.
I'll tell you what I'll do. You name any girl in town and I'll ask her.
But I don't want you to ask anybody.
Not anybody? You mean you want me to come alone?
Henry, you're not coming at all.
All right, Mary. Then we won't say anything more about it. We won't even mention the subject again. Only I think you ought to know that one of the reasons I was offering to was just so Joe wouldn't have to pay all the expenses.
But Joe isn't going to have to pay all the expenses.
Who else is going?
Butch Welch and some girl he's taking.
But there'd still be room for me, Mary.
Father, you've got to tell Henry he can't go.
Henry.
But, Father, there's a foot of snow out, and it's a swell night, and there's even a full moon, and Mary wants to keep it all to herself.
I don't care what you do with the moon.
But, Mary, if you'd only let me go, I'd even be willing to bring my ukulele along.
Father!
Mary, if you don't want Henry to go, why don't you tell him so and settle it?
Mother!
Well, gee whiz, after all I've done for you, Mary.
Henry, can't you find anything to do?
That's the trouble, Father. I haven't a thing I can do.
You can hand me a match if you'd like to.
Oh, yes, Father. Couldn't you take her to one side and just reason with her a little?
About what?
Haven't I made it clear about taking me?
Don't hold that match so high.
Oh, is that better?
Thank you. Mary gave you her reasons for not wanting you to go with her, so why not sit down and read a book and let me read my paper?
Read a book, Father?
Why don't you go over to Homer's?
Homer and I aren't speaking to each other.
Well, find something to do. I've had a hard day at the office.
Yes, Father.
Henry.
Yes, Father. Is even that disturbing you? Do you know what I've decided? The whole thing is just a foolish whim of hers, and I don't think you ought to give in to her.
Your father shouldn't give in to what, dear?
To Mary's whim, Mother. Mary and Joe are going on a swell sleigh ride, and Father won't make her take me.
Well, I certainly don't see why he should.
But, Mother, you haven't been here during the details.
Sam, where is Mary?
I thought she went out to speak to you.
Well, she didn't. Oh, Henry, will you please go upstairs and see whether I left my knitting bag up there?
Yes, Mother. And then when I come back, may I please say just a couple of words about this whole thing?
Sam?
Yes, Alice?
Mary hasn't gone upstairs crying, has she?
Cried? Why should she go up crying?
Well, dear, why didn't you put your foot down and settle it for them?
Because, Alice, I didn't want to get mixed up in it.
Well, naturally, Mary doesn't want her brother tagging along on a sleigh ride, especially when she's going with Joe Graham.
Mother!
Yes, Mary?
Will you please tell Henry that he's not supposed to go rummaging through my room?
But, Mary, I sent him up there to get my knitting bag.
Well, it isn't up there, Mother, and I'm simply ashamed of him.
Why?
Mother, he tries to barge in on everything.
Oh, he doesn't try to barge in on everything, does he? You know how friendly he is.
But that's the trouble. He overdoes it.
Now, Mary, is it so unreasonable if Henry wants to go on your sleigh ride? Well, I can remember when your father and I used to go on sleigh rides all the time. Didn't we, Sam?
What's that?
I was just saying, dear, how it's perfectly normal for anyone to want to go on a sleigh ride.
Yes, Mary.
Yes, Father.
How many will your sleigh hold?
Father, you and Mother aren't going along, are you?
No, dear, of course we aren't. It'll be quite enough if you just take Henry.
On the sleigh ride? He's going with us?
Mary, why couldn't you ask him to?
But, Mother, I don't want to ask him.
Sam, what do you think about it?
About what? Alice, I don't want to get involved in this.
Sam, I think the least you can do is take a little interest in your own family.
Oh.
Well, dear, we have a problem to be solved here. Henry's going to go off saying his feelings have been hurt, and Mary's going off saying her feelings have been hurt.
Because of me?
Sam, I'm ashamed of you.
Mother, here's your knitting bag.
Thank you, dear.
I'll answer the phone.
I'll answer it, Father.
I'll answer it, thank you.
Father, I'd be glad to.
Please stay there.
Sam, I want you to come back when you're through and help decide this.
I have something I've got to do in the kitchen first.
Listen, Mary, will this help you see things my way?
Henry, my entire evening's been ruined.
Now, dear, let's not be so dramatic. You're hurting Henry.
I'll say. Gee whiz, she makes me feel just as though I weren't wanted.
But, Mother, I haven't really got to take him, have I?
Mother, you mean she wants me?
We haven't decided, dear, whether she wants you or not. We're simply talking it over.
Hen-ree.
Yes, Father.
Do you know anyone by the name of Lolly?
Lolly?
That's the way it sounded to me.
Lolly? Lolly.
But whoever she is, she wants to talk to you on the telephone.
Lolly? Yes, Father, I'll be right there.
Mother.
Lolly, gee whiz. Hello?
Hello? Is this Henry?
Yes?
Well, this is Lolly.
Who's Lolly?
Just a minute, Henry.
What?
Hello?
Homer, is that you?
Yes, I just wanted to call you, Henry, and tell you I forgive you.
For what?
For getting sore at me when I pushed you off your seat in assembly today.
Well, I got the deuce for that, Homer.
Well, look, Henry, come on over to my girl's house.
I can't. I'm going on a sleigh ride, I think.
With who?
With a crowd.
Why can't Lolly and I go with you, Henry?
No, Homer, you couldn't possibly go.
Why not?
Because, Homer, you couldn't.
Oh, I see. You're still sore at me.
No, I'm not, Homer. You just can't go.
But, Henry, can't you at least ask?
No.
What harm will it do? Or are you sore?
Well, wait, Homer. I'll ask, but it won't do any good, though.
Hen-ree Al-drich, if you ask Homer Brown to go with us, I'll never speak to you again.
Quiet, Mary. Hello, Homer? Homer, hello? Homer! Now look at what you've done, Mary. You've offended the only good friend I ever had.
Children, I want both of you to stop quarreling.
But I'm only protecting my rights, Mother.
Mary, you're simply making a mountain out of a molehill.
A molehill?
Mary, I've never seen you act this way before.
But I've never had anything like this happen to me before.
But Homer isn't going.
Mary.
Yes, Father?
Joe Graham's out here in the hall.
He is. He is. Oh, my gracious.
Mary, stop running around in circles. Sam, tell Joe to come in.
But, Mother, if Henry has to go along with us, what will the whole town say?
Well, what will they say?
That I can't go out on a date without bringing my whole family.
Good evening, Mrs. Aldrich.
Good evening, Joe. You look as though you were dressed for a sleigh ride.
I am. Hello, Mary.
Hello?
Well, aren't you ready to go?
Not quite. Mother, were you going to stay here while I'm out of the room?
Now, Mary.
What's up?
Joe, she's afraid you're going to be insulted over something.
Mother.
What's the trouble?
Mother.
Joe, Henry wants to go with you.
What's that?
Yes, Joe.
Well, that's fine.
There, Mary. See that? Joe didn't hit the ceiling.
No, not at all.
Joe, you're only being polite.
Oh, why? I'm not being polite. Why, I'd be glad to have Henry come along.
Of course. And when you get through, you can all come back here and have some sandwiches.
With Henry, Mother?
Now, dear, I'm going out to the kitchen and see what's in the icebox.
Well,
If you aren't a nice one, Joe, why didn't you say you didn't want him to go along?
How could I? Right in front of your mother.
Well, you could have backed me up, couldn't you?
Now, listen, all I was doing was being polite.
But, Joe, you practically begged him to go.
I begged him to go. Listen, the next thing I know, you'll be wanting to take your whole family and saying that I asked them.
Joe, I'm a little bit surprised at you.
What? You mean you're surprised? Listen, Mary, I like Henry. He's a nice kid. But he hasn't any right to go on the sleigh ride.
What do you mean he hasn't any right? You don't want him to go.
That isn't the point. Are you going to insist on taking him?
That isn't what I asked you.
Are you taking him?
Yes, I am. Of course I'm taking my own brother.
That's all I wanted to know. Where's my hat and coat?
Right there on that chair.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe.
Who's that?
It's Butch. You all ready?
For what?
Well, for the sleigh ride. What do you think?
Oh, you and Gracie go.
Alone?
Yes.
Hey, what's the idea?
I'm going upstairs and take these heavy clothes off.
Well, listen, Joe, what's the trouble? Don't you like Gracie? If you don't, Joe, why don't you say so?
Butch, Mary wants to take Henry.
Henry? Henry?
That's right, Henry.
Well, why don't you put your foot down?
I have. What do you think I was just doing?
Boy, if it was anybody else but that kid. Why don't you tell Mary to lock him up?
Now, wait a minute, Butch. You can't talk about him like that.
What do you mean I can't?
Oh, there isn't a nicer kid in this town. Why, he'd do anything in the world for you.
All right, why doesn't he stay home then?
But, Butch, can you give any good reason why he shouldn't go with us?
Yeah, I could give you $1 million.
Now, listen, Butch, you're just making a mountain out of a molehill.
Joe, is Mary here in the living room?
No.
Well, did she tell you what I'm taking?
What?
My ukulele.
Good.
Sure, fine. That's all we need.
Okay, gee, I'm glad I thought of it.
Hen-ree!
Yes, Father?
Is there somebody in this town named Suki?
Suki? Suki?
Suki. She wants to speak to you on the telephone.
Suki, she wants to speak to me?
Well, Joe, a ukulele.
But, Butch, what harm will it do?
The next thing, you'll be wanting to take along the whole family.
Now, wait a minute, Butch. You can't talk like that right here in my girl's house.
Well, are you two still here?
Yes, we are. And what do you think? Butch doesn't want to take Henry.
Butch doesn't want to.
Yeah, that's what he said. And after your own mother had been generous enough to offer to make sandwiches for us.
Well, what's that got to do with it?
Oh, my goodness.
But, Joe, you and I are paying for the horses.
But Henry's willing to pay for his share, Butch.
What's that?
Yes, he is.
He's willing to pay for 1/3?
Well, Butch, I hope you don't think my brother is the kind that wouldn't be willing to pay his way.
Oh, no, Mary, I didn't mean that. As a matter of fact, I've always liked the kid. Why doesn't he come along? Sure, why not?
Oh, my goodness, I wish you boys would make up your minds. Wait here while I go up and put my heavy clothes back on.
And tell Henry to bring his ukulele.
Henry! Henry!
What, Mary?
I want to tell you something.
Well, I'm talking to Suki.
Well, I'll be down in a few minutes.
Hello? Hello?
Who are you talking to, Henry?
That was my sister going by. She gets very excited all the time.
Well, Henry, the reason I called was, are you doing anything this evening?
Who, me?
I guess you think I'm terrible asking you.
Well, the only thing is, gee, I never thought you knew I existed.
Who? I?
Sure.
Would you like to come over this evening, Henry?
Well, how would you like to go on a sleigh ride, I think?
On a sleigh ride, Henry, on a cold night like this?
Don't you like the cold?
I hate the cold. Why don't you just come over here? We'll sit and visit in our warm living room.
You really want me to? How long before you want me to come over?
Just as soon as you can.
Well, gee, I mean...
Are you sure you don't mind, Henry?
Gee, it's the one thing. Look, I'll start right away. Goodbye, Suki.
Goodbye, Henry.
Henry?
Yes, Mother?
Where are you?
I'm getting my things on.
Well, dear, be sure to wear a muffler and a heavy sweater.
Yes, Mother, I've got them. Goodbye.
Henry, are you going out alone?
Sure, Mother, over to Suki's.
Who?
Suki's.
Aren't you going with Mary?
With Mary? Oh, no, Mother.
Wait a minute, Henry. Why aren't you?
I don't want to. I changed my mind.
You changed your mind?
Yes, Mother, goodbye.
But, Henry...
Mother!
Well...
Mother, may I wear your blue... Mother? What's the matter?
Not a thing.
Well, why don't you answer me?
Never mind, Mary. But I think you ought to be completely ashamed of yourself.
Ashamed of myself?
Alice!
Yes, Sam.
I have a little surprise for you.
What is it?
Get your things on in a few minutes. I just phoned the stables and hired a sleigh.
For just the two of us?
Yep.
Well, dear, I can't go off on any sleigh ride when my whole family's upset.
Over what?
Mother, what's happened?
Mary, don't you realize your own brother just went off terribly hurt?
Hurt?
Yes, dear, of course. He knows when he's not wanted.
But, Mother, we decided to take him. In fact, Joe and Butch both want him to go.
Not very much, though.
But we do, Mother.
Alice, what's happened?
Sam, this is entirely your fault.
What have I done?
Dear, you've let Mary send her own brother off sulking.
Where?
Over to Suki's.
Sulking at Suki's?
Wherever he went, I'm going to find him.
Why?
I'm going to take Henry with us on that sleigh ride now if it's the last thing I ever do.
But getting back to the troubles of Hen-ree Al-drich. After disrupting the entire family over the question as to whether he may or may not go on a sleigh ride, Henry suddenly decides to spend the evening with a girl who doesn't care for sleigh rides. In fact, she simply hates the cold. The scene opens 10 minutes later in the Aldrich living room. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are speaking.
But, Alice, I thought you hinted that you would like to go for a sleigh ride.
Sam, dear, earlier in the evening I did wish we could go, but I couldn't possibly go off having a good time without first making sure the children are going to straighten everything out.
Well, then we won't go. Where's Mary?
She's gone over to Suki's to get Henry.
What for?
To tell him he's to go with her. You better see who's at the door, dear.
It's probably Mary back.
Hello, Mr. Aldrich.
Well, Homer.
Will you tell Hen-ree, Lolly, and I are here?
Henry?
Sam, who is it?
It's me and my girl, Mrs. Aldrich. We're ready to go on the sleigh ride with Henry.
Well, dear, are you quite sure you were to go along?
Well, I certainly understood we were.
When did he ask you?
Just a little while ago on the telephone. In fact, just before we got cut off, I heard Mary say, Henry, if Homer doesn't go along, I'll never speak to you again.
Well, Homer, I'm very much afraid Henry isn't here.
Where is he?
He's over at Suki's.
At Suki's?
Yes.
Oh, at Suki's. Well, we'll go right over. Gee, they're probably waiting for us.
Are you uncomfortable, Henry?
Well, would you mind if I should put this cushion on the floor?
No, not at all.
I've always wondered what the inside of your house would be like.
Do you like it?
Sure. You know what I've always said?
What?
All you have to do is see a person and you can tell what their living room's going to be like.
Really?
Sure. You take Willie Marshall. You know how stingy he is?
What's his living room like?
Long and narrow. And boy, they won't even let you open the piano.
Not ever.
Never when I'm there. And gee whiz, what harm could I do? I'm not even interested in pianos.
Oh, I love a piano.
Well, so do I. Don't misunderstand me. I just don't like Willie's piano. Do you ever skate?
Do you?
Oh, gee, do I.
Henry, I simply detest skating.
You do? Is that right? Well, frankly, I don't care for it very much myself.
You don't?
What is there to it? Now, you take swimming. Boy, it's the same lake, but I don't know. Do you like swimming?
Oh, I hate to swim, Henry.
You do? Well, as a matter of fact, it's very refreshing to find somebody as frank as you.
What is there to swimming?
That's what I say. It's either too hot or too cold. And you wear yourself getting across the lake, and then you have to swim all the way back.
My, we have a lot of taste in common, haven't we?
I'll say we have.
And I'm so glad you don't like to go sleigh riding. You know, my mother and father like to go, but I can't stand it.
Boy, did you save my life.
Really?
Gee, the whole gang practically insisted that I go along, and I was trying to be polite.
You must be terribly popular, Henry.
Do you like fellas who are popular?
Sarah Sue?
Yes, Father?
How did Henry happen to go home?
Oh, he hasn't. He's right here.
Yes, he's still here?
Yes, sir. Hello, Mr. Matthews.
Well, you and Sarah Sue were so quiet, I thought you'd gone home.
Well, do you think I ought to be going?
Oh, no, not at all. As a matter of fact, it's a nice change to have a boy in the house that isn't noisy.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
Has Mother gone to bed?
No, she's upstairs reading. And don't worry, I'm going back up with her.
Mr. Matthews, if we get to talking too loud, you just be frank and call down.
Thank you, Henry.
Your father's certainly a nice person.
You made an awful hit with him. And, Henry, I don't know when I've had a nicer evening.
You want me to put another log on the fire?
My gracious, I wonder who that could be.
Gee whiz, I hope whoever that is, they don't disturb your folks.
I guess I better see who's there. Hello, Suki, is Henry here?
Mary, is that you?
Yes, Henry, and I've only got a second. You get your things on right away and come along with us.
Why?
For the sleigh ride.
But, Mary, I'm not going.
But you've got to, Henry.
But isn't it clear I don't want to?
Now, Henry, there's no use in trying to make out your feelings or that hurt. Get on your things and come along, and Suki, too. For a sleigh ride? Yes. Joe and Butch and his girl are all out in front in the sleigh.
But, Mary, we're not interested in going.
Henry, do I have to get down on my knees and apologize?
What for? Gee whiz, I can sit in the house here by the fire if I want to, can't I?
No.
Why?
Because, Henry, you simply misunderstood us. Joe and Butch wanted you to go all the time. Now, please get your things on.
No.
All right, Henry, I'll tell Mother. Where's the phone?
You don't have to tell her. Suki, where's the phone?
It's right here in the hall.
Gee whiz, anybody think... Imagine.
Number, please.
Elm 303.
Elm 303.
Henry, I'm simply disgusted. If you were a little offended, that's one thing, but you certainly don't have to keep on sulking.
I'm sulking?
Henry?
Yes, Mr. Matthews?
Remember what you told me? If you happen to be talking too loud, I should let you know?
Well, excuse me, Mr. Matthews.
Hello?
Hello, is this you, Father?
It is?
Well, Father, could you please tell Mary to leave me alone?
What's the trouble?
I don't see why. If I don't want to go, I have to.
Henry, aren't you and Mary old enough to settle this between yourselves?
Henry, let me speak to him.
Wait a minute, Mary.
Henry, will you please let me speak to my own father?
Well, Mary, it isn't necessary to push me off the chair, is it?
I'm sorry. Father! Father!
Who is this?
It's Mary, and Henry is simply being stubborn.
I am not.
Mary, this is something I don't know anything about. If Henry doesn't want to spend his money on a sleigh ride, I don't think you should make him.
But, Father, it isn't a case of paying.
Sam, let me have the phone.
Now, wait a minute, Alice.
Mary.
Is this you, Mother?
Yes, dear, and I don't think it's very nice of you to go all the way over there just to talk Henry into not going.
Is that, Mother? Let me talk to her.
Stop it!
Hey, Mary, do you want us to freeze out here?
Joe, you just have to wait. Mother? Mother? Mother!
What did she say, Mary?
Henry! Mary, hurry up.
Well, Joe, now you've made me lose my mother.
Henry!
Yes, Mr. Matthews?
We can still hear you up here.
Number, please.
Operator, I was talking with Elm 303.
Quiet, Mary.
Elm 303. I'm sorry, but Elm 303 does not answer.
But, Operator, it must answer. I was just talking with them.
Sarah Sue, is there a door open downstairs?
Yes, Father. I think it's the front door.
Joe, would you mind closing the door you left open?
Sure.
Operator, are you ringing my mother?
I'm trying to get your party.
Oh, gee whiz, if this isn't embarrassing.
Hey, Joe, what's going on in here? They won't come, Butch.
We don't want to come.
Sarah Sue, is anyone down there besides you and Henry?
Well, I'll tell you, Father.
It's just a couple of friends, Mr. Matthews, that happened to drop in.
Please keep that front door closed.
Yes, Mr. Matthews. Mary, won't you hang up and go?
No, Henry, I can't go without Mother's permission.
But don't you realize what you're doing to me?
Who's that?
I haven't any idea.
Say, it's Hen-ree Al-drich here.
Now listen, Homer, what do you want?
Hen-ree Al-drich, did you ask Homer?
I did not.
You did too, Henry. Even told me to bring my girl.
Sarah Sue, your mother doesn't mind you having one or two guests, but you didn't tell us you were going to have a party here.
But, Father, I'm not. Mr. Matthews, if Henry and Suki will only go out and get on our sleigh, we'll all leave.
All right, why don't you go?
Because Suki doesn't want to.
Well, why not? It's a great night and it'll do her good.
Father, please don't send me out into the cold.
Who's that at the door?
It's probably my girl, frozen to death. Come on in, Lolly.
This isn't Lolly.
Father, how did you get over here?
I drove your mother over. What's going on here?
Henry, dear, I've never been so mortified.
Operator, never mind. My mother's here.
Sam, are you warm enough?
Yes, Alice. Are you?
I've never so warm in my life. Aren't the stars lovely?
Get up there.
How about you folks in back? Are you comfortable?
Yes, we're fine. Mrs. Matthews is just saying we've forgotten how pleasant it is to ride in a sleigh.
Yes?
Get up there. Look. I wonder how the children are.
Get out there.
Are you warm enough, Joe?
Move over a little closer.
Is that better? I wonder how the others are.
Get up there. You know, Gracie, as a matter of fact, I'm glad just the two of us took this sleigh.
Gracie. Gracie, are you asleep?
Get up there. Are you warm enough, Suki?
Yes, I'm quite warm, Henry.
You know, Suki, as long as your father made us get out of the house anyhow, this was a swell idea of yours.
Oh, yes. I much prefer a closed carriage to an open sleigh.
Would you like that lap robe that's on the back seat?
Yes, I think I would.
Okay. Well, gee whiz.
What's the trouble?
It seems to be fastened.
Now, listen, Henry, let go of my overcoat.
Homer, how did you and Lolly get in here?
Listen again next week, same time, same station, for another sparkling half hour with your favorite youngster, his family, and his pals. The Aldrich Family, starring Ezra Stone, is written by Clifford Goldsmith.
And now the Jell-O family presents...
Hen-ree Al-drich.
Coming, Mother.
Yes, it's the Aldrich Family, based on characters originated by Clifford Goldsmith and starring Ezra Stone as Henry with Jackie Kelk as Homer. And yes, it's the Jell-O family with its 3 famous desserts. Jell-O in those 6 delicious flavors, Jell-O puddings with that old-fashioned homemade flavor, and Jell-O tapioca puddings. A miracle of goodness, a marvel of speed.
4 desserts that are delicious. Boy, believe me, you should know. They are made by famous Jell-O.
And now for the Aldrich Family. To a typical teenage boy like Hen-ree Al-drich, every holiday is naturally a red letter day. And whatever the celebration, Henry is always certain to be right in the center of it, adding a little color of his own. The scene opens at the Aldrich breakfast table. It's the week before Christmas.
Sam, I'm just as pleased as I can be.
Yes, what about?
Henry, he's been so helpful this past week. And, dear, do you know what I think?
What?
He's really growing up.
You know what I think?
What?
Christmas is just around the corner.
Sam Aldrich, you're just being cynical.
No, Alice, I'm just experienced. Any time now, he'll start in dropping hints.
What hints?
About what he'd like us to give him for Christmas.
Sam, if he does, it's just because he's trying to be helpful.
Father, are you in the dining room?
Yes, Hen-ree.
Hiya, Father, old-timer.
Here we go.
I thought you might like your pipe here.
Thank you, Hen-ree.
Can I fill it for you?
No, thank you.
Or strike a match and light it?
No, thanks.
Gee whiz, isn't there anything I can do?
Would you care to smoke it for me?
Sam!
Hen-ree, is there something special on your mind? Something you want to say?
Why, no, sir. I'm just passing the time of day.
I see.
Only, now that I think of it, did I mention that swell football game I saw?
When, dear?
Thanksgiving Day. Boy, it was some game.
It was?
Yeah. Too bad I didn't enjoy it.
You didn't? Why not?
I don't know. You take a football game and you sit way back in the stands, see? And if you're not equipped, where are you?
Where?
You're right. It sure makes you think, doesn't it?
Hey, Henry.
Oh, gee whiz. I'll be right with you, Homer. Excuse me.
Hen-ree, wouldn't you like to be a little more explicit?
Sure, Father. The game I missed the best part of was the one we came closest to winning all season. Hi, Homer.
Listen, Henry, when are you going to casually show that advertisement to my father?
What? I'll tell you.
Oh, gee whiz, don't you want him to make me happy for Christmas?
Homer, I intend to show it to him. just as soon as I find it.
You lost it?
Not permanently. I was eating some cookies the other night, see? And the next thing I knew, your ad had disappeared. Temporarily.
You mean you ate it?
Ate it? Now that I think of it, that last cookie was kind of chewy.
Henry, I'll never get that piccolo if you go around eating up my ass.
Besides, Homer, if you ask me, you ought to be more subtle about that piccolo.
Who's not subtle? I'm not subtle.
Look, for Christmas, I want those binoculars down in DeHaven's, right?
Right.
So I just subtly drop a few hints and mention that I wasn't able to see the Thanksgiving football game from way back where I sat. And right away, they know it's binoculars I want.
They do?
Sure. Only they just try to worry me by pretending they don't understand.
Gee, Henry, you're right. You have to be subtle. You know what I'm going to do?
What?
Just a few days before Christmas, I'm going to give my father a box of good cigars.
Cigars?
Sure, and right inside I'll put a copy of that piccolo ad. How's that for being subtle?
Henry!
Yes, Mary?
Maybe one of you could help me.
With what, Mary?
Well, look, Homer. Suppose you were a man, see?
Mary, are you insulting me?
Of course not, Homer. I just said suppose you were.
Oh.
So, if you were this certain party, would you prefer a pen and pencil set or a 3-speed blanket?
You're buying me a blanket that travels at 3 speeds?
I should have known better than to ask you a simple question. Mother!
Wait a minute, Mary. Ask me again. Ask me again.
Mother, are you in the kitchen?
Mary, dear, I'll be right back.
Sam! But, Mother, I just want to ask you what I should buy Kermit for Christmas.
Sam, look what I just found in the cookie jar, an advertisement.
Someone's advertising in our cookie jar?
Dear, don't you get it? Henry put it there for us to find.
Oh, let me see it. Are you never the life of the party? Buy one of our piccolos and stop playing second fiddle. $6.75 delivered. Alice, a piccolo?
Sam, that's what he wants for Christmas.
Engraved with bluebirds, $1 extra.
That would be lovely.
But, Alice, where does a football game enter into a piccolo?
Dear, it's obvious.
It is?
Of course. Henry wants to play in the school band.
What?
Yes, dear, so he can sit right on the sidelines and get a perfect view.
Mr. DeHaven.
I'll be right with you, boys.
Look, Homer, there are my binoculars.
Where?
Right there in the store window, next to that sign that says, Make Mother Happy for Christmas with a personalized darning egg.
Now, what can I do for you boys?
Mr. DeHaven, I'd like a box of your best cigars.
Yes, sir. We have an excellent brand here that comes all wrapped for Christmas.
That's swell. I'll take it.
Good. That'll be $11.50.
How much?
$11.50.
That 11 you're speaking of, is that dollars?
It is.
Gee whiz, all I have is $1.25.
Mr. DeHaven, could I please try these binoculars in the window?
Very well, Henry, but be careful.
Gee, thanks.
Mr. DeHaven, don't you have cigars without quite so much tobacco that come for about $1.25?
No, I'm afraid not. Why not get your father something else?
Not cigars?
We have some nice simulated plastic picture frames.
Picture frames?
Yes, you could slip your picture in one of them and give that to your father.
My picture? And watch my piccolo go right out the window?
Well, then I'm afraid there's nothing I can do, Homer. Now, be careful with those binoculars, Henry.
Yes, Mr. DeHaven. All I'm doing is looking through them.
Boy, imagine, $11.50 for cigars. People sure do burn up money.
Boy, Homer, boy, are these binoculars neat.
Let me look through them, Henry. Let me look.
Okay, but take it easy, Homer.
Hey, you see Agnes Lawson down by the soda fountain?
Yeah?
You know how much her check is? Only 5 cents.
Gee, are those binoculars as powerful as that? Excuse me, Homer.
Who are you phoning?
My father, to drop another hint.
Number, please.
Elm 992.
Henry, while you're calling, I think I'll join Agnes.
What for?
I've owed her a treat for a long while, and boy, this looks like a good time to pick up her check.
Hello?
Hello, Father.
Henry, I've got to meet your mother. What is it?
Why, nothing in particular. I just happened to be down here in DeHaven's drugstore, and I saw.
Saw what?
Nothing, Father. But don't you think it's pretty interesting to be able to see a check from as far off as 20 feet?
See a what?
A check.
Henry, what are you driving at?
Driving at, Father? I? Oh, gee, I just called to pass the time of day.
Yes, but...
Well, now that I've passed it, So long, Father.
Henry, where's Homer?
Over there with Agnes and Mr. DeHaven. If things go right, my parents ought to be in for these binoculars sometime today.
Good. Did I mention there's no extra charge for the leather case?
They come in a case?
Oh, yes, with a strap that goes around your neck.
Boy, that's a fine thing.
Say, Homer, I found a sample box of 15 cigars that I can let you have for $1.25.
But, Mr. DeHaven, all I have now is $1.
What?
Agnes's check was 25 cents.
I thought it was only 5.
So did I. Only she was deliberately holding her thumb over the 2.
May I help you, sir?
Yes. Do you sell checkers at this counter?
Oh, we do indeed. Would you like to see them in wood, plastic, or reinforced cardboard?
Well...
Or if you want to go whole hog, we have a dandy set in hand-carved ivory.
Well, it really doesn't matter what the checkers are made of, just so that they're big enough to be seen from 20 feet off.
20 feet?
Yes.
Oh, wouldn't it be rather inconvenient to play from that distance?
Well, it sounds ridiculous to me, too, but as near as I can figure out, that's what my son wants for Christmas.
Well, if you'll just wait a minute, I'll see if we have any large checkers in stock.
Thank you.
Father!
Oh.
Father, what are you doing down here at the Emporium?
I was supposed to meet your mother at the information counter 10 minutes ago.
Oh. Well, she still has time. By the way, Father, does a leather case with a strap that goes around your neck mean anything to you?
No, why?
I ran into Henry, and he said if I saw you to casually mention that what he wants for Christmas comes in one.
You don't say.
And, Father, I have a problem.
Yes?
Well, if you knew a certain party that was, well, close to you.
Close to you?
Yes. And suppose you wanted to get him something very special for Christmas to show him how you feel about him, what would you get?
Why, well, I really don't feel I should say.
Father, you must tell me.
Well, naturally, Mary, I'm sure whatever you get him, he'll be crazy about. But if I were that man, you know what I'd really like?
What?
Well, a new hunting rifle?
My goodness.
You're right, Mary. It's too expensive.
Oh, I'm not worried about the money.
No?
No, it's coming out of my special campaign fund.
Well, Mary, I hardly know what... Well, that is, I'm certainly... Mary.
Father, my goodness, you kissed me right in the middle of the Emporium.
I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's quite all right.
And could you please tell me which way to guns?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, I know, in sporting goods.
Now, don't you go spending too much, Mary. Nice girl, Mary.
Lovely. Friend?
Daughter. Say, isn't your jewelry department nearby?
2 aisles over, but...
As long as she's going as far as a hunting rifle, I wonder how she'd like a pearl necklace.
But, sir, about those checkers, I've measured all of them, and the largest is 1.25 inches in diameter.
Oh, well, I'll tell you. Does the set come in a leather case?
Why, no.
And it doesn't have a strap that goes around your neck?
No.
Well, thanks. The more I think of it, the more I'm sure we're on the wrong track with checkers.
Well, we have this chess set in leather case.
Chess?
And it's been reduced, and we could have a strap put on it.
No, I'm afraid not. If I don't like chess, why should Hen-ree?
Sam!
Oh, there's my wife. Excuse me.
Dear, I'm sorry I'm late, but I've finished every last bit of our Christmas shopping.
No, you haven't, Alice. We still need a gift for Hen-ree.
Henry? Didn't you send away for that piccolo?
Yes, but he wasn't hinting for a piccolo.
He wasn't?
Not unless a piccolo has something to do with checks you can see 20 feet off and it goes around your neck.
What?
Incidentally, Alice, what do you think of pearls?
Pearls? What? Why, dear, they're very lovely.
They'd make a nice present for a young lady, wouldn't they?
Oh, my goodness, yes, but aren't they rather expensive?
Alice, in this case, nothing's too good.
Well, naturally, Sam, it's up to you. And, dear, while you're doing your shopping, there's something I ought to take care of, too.
Very well, dear, and try to think what it is Henry's been hinting at.
I will. Excuse me, madam, could you let me by, please? Young man.
Well, back again, madam.
Yes, these ties I bought a little while ago. I'd like to return them.
So soon?
Well...
Our ties don't usually start coming back until after New Year's.
Well, you see, I think I'm getting a pearl necklace for my husband. And I couldn't very well give him just ties in return.
I see. Very well. I'll make out a refund slip.
Thank you. Incidentally, you've had quite a bit of experience with gifts, haven't you?
I certainly have.
Well, what would you say it was that's handy at football games, comes in loud checks, and goes around your neck?
Why, madam, that's obvious.
It is?
Yes, you'll find our mufflers right over there at the next counter.
Muffler? But that's incredible. Henry would never... Why, it's incredible.
But, madam, what else could it be?
Kermit what for Christmas?
A gun, Mother, a gun.
Dear, do you really think you should be giving a man you might eventually marry a thing like that?
But Father thought that's just what Kermit would like. And, Mother, my problem is, what should I have engraved on it?
Engraved?
On the barrel. I was thinking of something like, to Kermit, peace on earth, goodwill toward men.
Dear, I wouldn't have it engraved until after Christmas.
Why not?
Well, suppose it's the wrong size and has to be returned. And, Mary, wait till you hear what I'm getting from your father.
Hey, Hen-ree. Mrs. Aldrich, have you seen Hen-ree?
Oh, I believe he's up in his room, Homer. I'll call him.
Before you tell me what you're getting?
Mary, maybe you can help me out.
With what?
Have you ever had any experience rolling cigars?
Rolling what?
Cigars. I thought if I bought the raw materials and eliminated the middleman, I might get by for $1.
Homer, I've never rolled a cigar in my life.
Hi, Homer.
And I don't think it's a bit nice of you to infer that I have. My goodness.
Homer, Mary didn't mention anything about my family buying those binoculars, did she?
No.
Gee, I went through every hiding place in the house, and the only Christmas present I found was a muffler.
For you?
Gee whiz, no. My parents wouldn't palm a thing like that off on me. You should see it, Homer. Checks as big as that all over.
No, kid.
Boy, it looked like it was on fire.
Hen-ree.
Yes, Homer?
I hate to mention this, but, well, maybe your parents didn't get your hints straight and bought you something else instead of binoculars.
Henry, will you please answer the phone?
Yes, Mother. Homer, what else could they have thought I was hinting for? Hello?
Hello, is this Aldrich?
Yes?
Elm 303?
That's right.
Well, this is the Emporium calling. Have you decided on what sort of engraving you want on that hunting rifle?
Hunting rifle?
Yes.
Hunting rifle?
That you bought this afternoon for the young man.
Are you sure you're calling Aldrich?
Yes.
Elm 303?
Yes.
And somebody here bought a hunting rifle?
Yes. Hello?
Oh, boy. Only maybe you shouldn't have told me that.
Oh, it's for you?
You better call back later and speak to either my mother or father. Goodbye. Homer, did you hear that? I'm getting a hunting rifle for Christmas.
Boy, and to think all I asked for was a piccolo.
Boy, Homer, that just goes to prove what a few subtle hints can do.
Hen-ree Al-drich. Hen-ree wanted a pair of binoculars for Christmas, but the subtle hints he's been dropping have led his parents to buy him a muffler and a piccolo. Only now, Hen-ree believes they've bought him a hunting rifle, which is really Mary's present to her boyfriend. The scene opens in the Aldrich living room, and it's Christmas Eve.
A snow shovel? Mother, you're giving Father a snow shovel for Christmas?
Mary, let me finish. First, your father will give me my pearl necklace. Then I'll give him his snow shovel. And, Mary, you're going to see the longest face you've ever seen.
Well, I should think so.
And then I'll give him his real present, a lovely chess set in a leather case.
A chess set?
Yes, I saw him admiring it in the Emporium the other day.
Oh, Mother, you're so sweet.
Oh, and, Mary, I feel so warm.
So do I. The house has been so different since Father insulated it.
I didn't mean that. I mean everything's so perfect.
Hello, Mother.
Hello, dear.
Hello, Mary.
Hello, Henry.
Would anybody like me to make them a glass of eggnog?
Eggnog, Henry?
Sure. That's just the thing I'm in the mood to make.
Well, thank you just the same, dear.
Hey, Henry.
Mary, please phone Mrs. Dixon and make sure she launders our good tablecloth in time for Christmas dinner.
Henry, I got that box of cigars from my father.
You did? For $1?
Sure, from Willie Marshall.
I didn't know Willie smoked cigars.
He doesn't. This is a box his uncle sent his father.
No kidding.
Sure. Mr. Marshall said the way he feels about his wife's family, he wouldn't smoke them with a 10-foot pole.
I'll get that.
I don't mind answering it, Mary.
I'm practically there. Hello?
Hello, Mary. This is Kermit.
Oh, hello, Kermit.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How have you been?
Fine, Kermit.
You had the sniffles when I left last night, and I've been worrying.
You have? Isn't that sweet?
How are they?
Who?
The sniffles.
Oh, fine.
I've just finished my Christmas shopping.
You have? Kermit, I certainly hope you didn't get anything from me.
Well,
Oh, Kermit, you shouldn't have.
It's something you wear on your hand.
Really? Kermit, you're anything.
No, I'm not. And they're made of pigskin.
Oh.
That's all the hints I'm going to give you.
Oh. Well, I certainly hope you won't ask me to give you any hints about what I got you.
I won't.
You won't? Well, I'll give you a tiny hint. Just keep your eye on the bullseye.
On the bullseye?
And I'm not going to say another word.
Gee, that's a puzzler.
It is.
I can't think of what it could be, unless it's a gun.
A gun?
But I know you wouldn't be foolish enough to buy a thing like that.
What?
Not for a guy who served 4 years in the infantry.
Well, naturally, I didn't. Why would I? Oh, my goodness.
Is anything wrong, Mary?
No, but I have to hang up.
Are your sniffles coming back?
Kermit, I haven't time to explain. Goodbye. Oh, my goodness.
Liz, Mary, what's wrong?
Hen-ree, out of my way. Don't you realize all the stores close at 7 tonight?
Are you looking for something in that closet, Mary?
My goodness, I hope it isn't too late.
Mary, what are you doing?
Hen-ree, let go. I've got to return this right away.
Return it. Listen, Mary, put that down.
Hen-ree, out of my way.
Mother! Mary, don't you move another step. Mother!
Hen-ree, I warn you.
What's all the shouting about?
What's going on? Mother, Mary's going to return my Christmas present.
Mary, that muffler's for Hen-ree.
Muffler?
I'm returning Kermit's gun.
Kermit's gun?
Kermit?
Now, please, let me go, Hen-ree. I'll never be able to return it in time.
But...
Hen-ree, you didn't think that gun was for you instead of Kermit, did you?
Why? For Hen-ree, Alice. For Hen-ree. If that gun was for anyone, it was for...
For whom?
Kermit. And excuse me.
Where are you going?
Up to my room. And I hope Mary's very happy with her pearls.
Mary? The pearls are for... Oh, my goodness.
Boy, that's a fine thing.
Hen-ree, where are you going?
Out, Mother. Just out.
Dear, you haven't got your coat on.
Gee, who cares?
Well, at least take your new muffler.
Mother, I'd rather not even mention that muffler.
What are you doing on the curb?
Sitting, Homer. Gee whiz, what does it look like?
I've been looking for you for nearly 2 hours. Merry Christmas.
Sure. Merry Christmas.
I heard about the gun being for Kermit. Tough luck.
That's okay, Homer. That's okay. Maybe the better man won.
Hen-ree, don't say that.
Why not? Why not face facts? Gee. And to think I've been looking forward to this Christmas since last Christmas.
I know how you feel. I'm not getting my piccolo either.
No?
I'll be lucky to get anything.
Didn't you give your father those cigars?
Sure. He lit one. You know what happened?
What?
It blew up in his face.
It did?
And Willie won't even give me my money back. He says, is it his fault his uncle doesn't like his father?
What's that?
Bunch of kids singing carols on the library steps.
Boy, you'd think they'd know better than to disturb the peace.
Well, I'll say. Dum-dum-dum.
Homer, are you humming?
Me? Well, gee whiz, I was just checking to see if they're in tune.
Oh, are they?
No.
Hiya, fellas.
Who's that?
Gee whiz, it's that pest Johnny Dixon again.
Merry Christmas to you all. I just delivered your mother's tablecloth, Hen-ree. Aren't we lucky?
Lucky?
Sure. Look. Snow on Christmas Eve. Isn't it neat?
What's so neat about snow? All it does is get under your collar.
And would you mind leaving us alone?
Well, sure, fellas. And I hope your mother's cold gets better, Hen-ree.
Cold? She's got a cold?
Well, that's the way she looked to me. Say, did I show you the swell present I got from my mother? Look, a real aviator's helmet.
Yeah.
Fur-lined.
That's swell.
With real fur. Well, I better get home and help her trim the tree. Merry Christmas to you all.
Gee.
Yeah, gee.
Imagine getting all excited about a hat. Hen-ree.
What?
I'm going home.
Homer, you're going to leave me alone on Christmas Eve?
I'm sorry, Hen-ree. That's where I'd rather be.
Gee whiz.
Good night. And Hen-ree.
Yeah?
Merry Christmas.
Hen-ree Al-drich.
Gee whiz, Mother, what are you doing out in the street?
Here's your coat.
Gee, thanks, Mother.
Don't think I'm forgiving you, Hen-ree. But if you get sick, I'm the one who'll have to suffer for it. Now put it on.
Yes, Mother, and look.
Hen-ree, is that you?
Sam.
Alice,
What are you doing out here?
Sam, I know we agreed not to speak to Hen-ree, but...
Father, what's that under your arm?
Why,
Gee whiz, it's my lumber jacket.
Hen-ree, I'm still the one who has to pay the doctor's bill.
Gee, thanks.
Well, Alice, shall we go home?
You're going? Before I wish a Merry Christmas to you all?
Why, Merry Christmas, Hen-ree.
Yes. Merry Christmas, son.
Gee, listen to what they're singing. Love and joy come to you, and to you you're also too, and God bless you. Oh, Father, could I apologize for thinking that gun was for me?
Oh, that's all right, son. We all make mistakes.
Sam, I'm so happy.
Henry, I'm just curious. What was it you were heading for all week?
See, Father, it was silly. Forget it.
I'm curious.
Well, a pair of binoculars I saw in DeHaven.
Binoculars?
But, gee, they don't compare to a muffler.
Yes.
Well, shall we all go home now and trim the tree?
Why, I'll tell you, Alice, suppose you go home and start without me. I just remembered I ran out of cigars.
Don't buy them from Willie, Father. They blow up in your face.
Well, dear, shall we start for home?
Why, before we do, could I go into the store here and put in one phone call?
To whom?
DeHaven's drugstore, and tell Mr. DeHaven not to sell my binoculars before Father gets there.
Now, Merry Christmas to all of your families from the Jell-O family. Jell-O, Jell-O puddings, and Jell-O tapioca puddings. Now, for all you youngsters listening in, here's a little Christmas poem. If you ever get the feeling that you'd like to squeeze the cat, or tie a tin can to the dog, or sit on Father's hat, or pull the lamp from off the desk, or overturn the ink, better stop before you do. Better stop and think. Because you know what's coming, and it's not so far away. Just 2 days from now, it'll be Christmas Day. You can squeeze the cat in April. You can tease the dog in June. In August, you can dig the yard with Mother's silver spoon. Father's hat will squash in March, and next month there'll still be ink. Better wait a little while. Better wait and think. Because you know what's coming, and it's not so far away. Just 2 days from now, it'll be Christmas Day.
And here's wishing all of you, from all of us, a very Merry Christmas. Good night, folks.
Family, starring Ezra Stone as Hen-ree and Jackie Kelk as Homer, is written by Norman Tokar and Ed Jurist, with music by Jack Miller. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are House Jamison and Catherine Roth. And this is Hugh James in New York saying the Aldrich Family is brought to you by the Jell-O family.
For desserts that are delicious, boy, believe me, you should know. They are made by famous Jell-O.
Listen again next Thursday, same time, same station, for another sparkling half hour with the Aldrich Family.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
And now the Jell-O family presents...
Hen-ree Al-drich.
Coming, Mother.
Yes, it's the Aldrich Family, based on characters originated by Clifford Goldsmith, and starring Ezra Stone as Hen-ree with Jackie Kelk as Homer. And yes, it's the Jell-O Family, with its 3 famous desserts. Jell-O in those 6 delicious flavors, Jell-O puddings with that old-fashioned homemade flavor, and Jell-O tapioca puddings. A miracle of goodness, a marvel of speed.
For desserts that are delicious, boy, believe me, you should know. They are made by famous Jell-O.
And And now for the Aldrich Family. A typical teenage boy like Hen-ree Al-drich is as unpredictable as the weather. And like the weather, he can change in a moment from storm to calm. And usually, a whole household changes with him. The scene opens in the Aldrich living room. It is early Saturday evening.
Sam, would you like me to put another log on the fire?
No, thank you, Alice.
I wouldn't mind a bit, dear. I know you like to be warm when you're reading.
Alice, there's only one thing I really like when I'm reading.
What, dear?
Not to be talked to.
Well, you won't have to worry about Hen-ree bothering you tonight. He'll be out of the house the whole evening. And frankly, I don't know why one of us didn't think of it years ago.
Putting him out of the house?
No, dear. Arranging for the children to have a party at a different home each week. It'll be so much easier sitting in the kitchen one night every 2 months when we know that the rest of the time we can read in the living room in peace and quiet.
We can?
Of course, dear. Just as you are now.
Yes.
Elizabeth said she thought the idea was a stroke of genius. But I wouldn't go so far as to say that. Would you, Sam?
Alice, I think your idea is wonderful. It's brilliant. It gives me an opportunity to read this book. Now, suppose I read it.
Dear, you can't read it if you keep on talking all the time.
Mother!
Yes, Hen-ree?
Have you been making any rag rugs recently?
Any what?
Rag rugs! Rag rugs! I can't find my maroon socks.
Hen-ree, your socks are in your top drawer.
I'm sorry, Mother, they are, and I've turned my drawers inside out.
That's strange because I distinctly remember putting them away.
Alice, why don't you go upstairs and help him look?
Well, while I'm doing that, will you please answer the phone?
Now, wait a minute. Henry's perfectly capable of finding his own socks.
But, dear...
You answer the phone.
Mother!
Alice, Henry's calling you.
What is it, Hen-ree?
The phone's ringing.
Yes, dear, I know. Hello?
Hello, is that you, Mrs. Aldrich?
Yes, how are you, Homer?
Okay, I guess, except for my arms.
Your arms?
They're just sort of aching from carrying a couple of armchairs out to the kitchen for my parents. But don't worry, they'll be in shape by the time Agnes gets here.
Your parents?
No, my arms. Could I speak to Hen-ree, please?
Dear, Henry's in his bare feet, but he'll see you at your party in a little while.
In his bare feet?
Father!
Goodbye, Homer.
I know, but...
Father!
Oh, Sam!
Yes?
Henry's calling you.
Hen-ree, your mother told you where your socks were. I found my socks, Father. I had them on.
Alice, do you think we should have his eyes examined?
Dear, the only trouble with Hen-ree is his body works faster than his mind.
Father, what I can't find now is your tie clip.
Now, stay here.
Sam, I'll go look for it. You just go back to your book.
Perhaps I should wait until Henry's mind catches up with the rest of us.
Oh, my goodness. Hello?
Mrs. Aldrich, we were cut off.
Homer, what is it you want?
I have to speak to Hen-ree. It's very urgent.
Just a minute. Hen-ree!
Yes, Mother?
Homer wants you on the phone.
I can't come now. I'm taking a bath.
Dear, I thought you were all dressed except your feet.
I was, but I just got shoe polish on me.
Hello, Homer?
Is he coming, Mrs. Aldrich?
No, he can't right now. Suppose you give me the message.
Well, listen, Mrs. Aldrich, I've got some bad news. Our radio's just gone on the bum.
Really?
And we won't have anything to dance to.
Homer, couldn't you play the piano?
How could you dance to Home Sweet Home?
Dear, haven't you been studying for years and years?
Only 5, Mrs. Aldrich.
And all you can play is Home Sweet Home?
Sure. Gee whiz, I'm no child prodigy.
Homer, I wish I could suggest something, but...
Well, as a matter of fact, how is your radio working, Mrs. Aldrich?
Our radio? Oh, I'm afraid Mr. Aldrich wouldn't let that out of the house.
Well, Mrs. Aldrich, did you ever hear that saying about the mountain and Mohammed?
What's that?
If your radio can't come to us, I'm sure the gang wouldn't mind going to your radio.
Now, just a minute, Homer. I'm afraid that's out of the question.
It is?
And besides, it's your parents' turn to look after the party tonight.
But neither of them plays the piano.
Well, dear, would this help you? There's a neighbor of ours who has a portable phonograph and a complete collection of records.
Oh, boy.
I'll send Hen-ree over to borrow them.
You will, Mother?
Oh, Okay, but will you tell him to hurry? Half the kids are here.
Yes, Homer.
And if we don't get something to dance to, I'll never get Willie out of the punch bowl.
All right, Homer. Goodbye.
Mother, you mean I have to start running errands at a time like this?
Just over to Miss Spencer's to pick up her phonograph and records. Homer needs something to dance to.
Boy, I always have to wait on him, hand and foot.
Dear, you're not doing this for Homer. You're doing it for your father and me. And I thought you were taking a bath.
I decided I didn't have time. I'd only keep Diane waiting.
Now, here's your overcoat.
Thanks, Mother.
Dear, don't forget to put your gloves on.
Okay.
And have a good time.
Thanks, Mother. You and Father have a good time, too.
We will. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Was that Henry leaving, Alice?
Yes, Sam.
Well, thank goodness.
Oh, dear. Hello?
Hello, is that Mrs. Aldrich?
Yes?
Well, I'm very sorry to bother you, but this is Diane.
Diane?
Yes, Diane Conway. I'm going to a party tonight with your son, Henry.
Oh, of course, and he's certainly looking forward to it.
Oh, so am I.
And so are we. That is...
But do you happen to know whether Henry is picking me up at home or at DeHaven's drugstore?
Well, didn't he tell you?
Well, yes, he did, I think, but... Well, you know how when Henry tells you something, 1 minute it's perfectly clear, and the next minute, you know what I mean?
Well, dear, I'm not sure, but he just left, and I was under the impression he was going to pick you up at your house.
Oh, my goodness, he can't do that.
Well, where are you now, Diane?
I'm waiting down here at the drugstore.
Well, then, suppose you go back home and wait for him.
But by the time I go all the way home, I'll miss him.
Well...
And I can't stay here. Everybody's staring at me.
Now, dear, just calm down. I know what we can do. You wait right where you are.
But Mrs. Aldrich...
It'll only be for 5 minutes. Goodbye. Sam!
Yes, Alice?
Will you please come here a minute?
What's the trouble now?
Here's your coat, dear.
My coat? I'm not going anyplace.
Sam, don't argue. You'll have to go down to DeHaven's drugstore before that child goes to pieces.
What child?
Diane. For the sake of our whole evening, Sam, you'll have to pick her up.
Pick her up and what?
Dear, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Hello?
Hello, Homer. This is me.
Henry, where have you been?
I've been slightly delayed, Homer, but I'll be right over to your place.
But, Henry, I thought you weren't coming, and I talked everybody out of dancing.
But, Homer...
So what do you say we go someplace?
After I've gone to all the trouble of getting you a phonograph and records?
What records have you got?
Well, I'll tell you. Listen, Homer, how would the gang feel about Schubert's 8?
Who's 8?
Schubert.
Yeah? His 8th what?
Symphony, Homer. Haven't you ever heard of the Unfinished Symphony?
Listen, Henry, why would we want to listen to that?
I know, but...
Even Schubert wasn't interested enough to finish it.
But, Homer, that's the only kind of records Miss Spencer has.
Well, it's a good thing we're not dancing. Look, why don't we all go over to your place?
My place?
I mentioned it to your mother before, but I don't think she took the hint.
Now, listen, if you're planning to go over to my house, you're crazy.
What do you mean by a statement like that?
Homer, my folks are going to have one peaceful evening at home if it's the last thing I
do. Hello?
Hello, Alice.
Sam, where are you?
Down at DeHaven's drugstore. And, Alice, what does Diane look like?
Well, I'm not sure, dear, but I believe Henry mentioned something about blue eyes.
What kind of a description is that? What's she wearing?
Sam, I hadn't any idea. Although...
Yes?
It's pretty cold. She's probably wearing a fur coat.
You think so?
If she has one. Although, frankly, I doubt it.
Alice, I'm coming home.
Dear, you can't do that. Diane's waiting for you.
She isn't waiting here.
Then you better run over to Hilliard's drugstore and take a look around there.
But that's all the way across town.
Sam, we can't leave a single stone unturned.
Alice, how nice of you to phone.
Elizabeth, do you happen to know what Diane looks like?
Diane?
Yes, Henry's girl. Sam's down at Hilliard's drugstore looking for her, and we haven't the faintest idea what she looks like.
Oh, Diane. Well, as a matter of fact, Homer was talking about her at supper tonight.
Really? What did he say about her?
He said she was a dish.
A dish?
Yes, dear. You know, a Lulu.
Well, that's some help.
Homer didn't mention exactly where Henry was to meet her, did he?
Well, Homer claims that all Henry talked about was somebody named Schubert.
Schubert?
Yes, and the number was 8. Oh, and Alice.
Yes?
Well, since Sam is down at the drugstore and he has to go by here on his way home, do you think he'd mind picking up a quart of ice cream?
I guess not.
And a tube of toothpaste while he's at it?
All right, Elizabeth.
And Alice, I still think this idea of yours is a stroke of genius.
You mean about the party?
Yes. Will and I can bear up tonight as long as we know that next week at this time we'll be in your shoes.
Say, Charlie.
Yeah?
You see that fella standing over there by the soda fountain?
The one with his hat pulled down over his eyes?
Yeah. Keep an eye on him.
Why? What's he doing?
Well, every girl that comes in here, he steps up to her, see, and stares at her.
Yeah? What do you suppose he's up to?
Wait a minute. I'll handle him. Sir. You there. Is there something I can show you?
What's that?
May I help you?
Why, as a matter of fact, yes, I might want to buy something.
Fine. Are you interested in reading?
I was, earlier this evening.
Well, then, how about a good book?
A book? Why, all right.
We have a complete collection of pocketbooks right here.
Yes.
You just look over the titles and let me know which one you'd like.
Well, now, then, let's see. Here's one.
Yes?
Little Man, What Now?
Diane, are you sure this is where that friend of your mother's lives?
Of course, Henry. And she has positively every kind of record.
She has, Diane? All popular?
I'm sure of it, Henry.
Oh, boy, Diane, it's a lucky thing I saw you waiting there in DeHaven's drugstore. The only thing is...
Yes?
Well, either your friend's out or she sleeps awfully hard.
Well, let's try the doorbell again.
I've got a better idea.
What are you picking up, Henry?
Some gravel. Stand back, Diane.
My goodness, are you going to throw it at the window?
Just gently.
Do you hear anything?
No, gee whiz.
Henry, I think we better give up and get to the party.
Give up? Why, if I don't get some dance records, do you know what Homer's going to do?
What?
Land right on top of my parents with all 4 feet.
Really?
Sure, punch bowl and all. And can't you see what a mess that would make of their quiet evening at home?
My goodness, Henry. I think you're about the most thoughtful boy I ever met.
Gee, thanks. I'm going to have one more shot at that window.
My, how many other boys would go to all this trouble?
Gee, thanks. Give me some elbow room, Diane. There. Oh, boy.
Henry!
How did that rock get in with the gravel?
Alice, I'm calling to tell you this whole thing is utterly ridiculous.
Now, Sam, Diane's waiting for someone to meet her in a drugstore, and I promised
But, Alice,
her...
it's getting embarrassing looking into girls' eyes to see what color they are.
But, dear...
I've never felt more like a criminal in my life.
What do you mean?
At Hilliard's, they threatened to call the police. And at Marshall's, they came right out and called me a masher.
You mean you've been to every drugstore in town?
I have.
Well, dear, is there a Schubert's drugstore on 8th Street?
What's that?
According to Homer, Henry talked about Schubert's at 8th.
Alice, there's no such place.
Dear, you better have a look.
Now, wait.
And while you're there, Mrs. Brown would like a quart of ice cream.
Now, wait.
And a tube of toothpaste. And you better get a dozen lemons, Sam, in case they run out of punch.
Now, wait a minute.
And now for some shopping instructions from Meredith Wilson and his Talking People.
Well, Talking People, you've been talking about the Jell-O family since last October, and you're getting pretty darn good.
Oh, sure. We can laugh together, ho-ho, and we can cry together, ooh-hoo-hoo, and we can shimmer together.
Starting with strawberry,
Raspberry, cherry, orange, lemon, lime, J-E-L-L-O. Never make a mistake.
How's that?
Well, hardly ever. And nobody makes a mistake when they ask for the famous Jell-O family of desserts.
No, sir. There's regular Jell-O puddings, smooth and luscious.
And Jell-O tapioca puddings.
Full of personality.
And dimples.
And there's Jell-O.
the world's most famous shimmering dessert.
So colorful for your holiday table. Better have plenty on hand because Jell-O is easy to prepare and is so doggone good. Get Jell-O with the big red letters on the box in all 6 of those shimmering, delicious flavors. Starting with strawberry, cherry,
lemon, lime, Jell-O. But you won't like Jell-O. Whoa, no, not much.
And now back to the Aldrich family.
Now getting back to the troubles of Hen-ree Al-drich. In order to ensure the quiet evening they had planned on spending at home, Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are trying to get Hen-ree off to a party. But the more they try, the further they get from their goal. The scene opens in Springer's hardware store. It is a little later the same evening.
It is, operator? The line's still busy?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Well, look, could you cut in on the conversation?
No, sir. I'm sorry.
But look, operator, it's only my mother speaking, see, and I'm her son.
I beg your pardon?
Her only son, see? And I know she'd want to talk to me. And we pay our bill regularly, every month.
I beg your pardon?
Sure, so couldn't you please cut in?
I'll try your number again and call you back.
I know, but you... Hello? Oh, boy.
Hen-ree, you want me to wrap these for you?
The only thing is, Mr. Springer, I should speak to my mother first.
Now, look, when you got me out of bed to come down here and open my hardware store, you didn't say you were dragging your mother into it.
I'm not, Mr. Springer. Gee, I wouldn't think of dragging her out of the house when she's spending a nice, restful evening. Oh, boy, excuse me. Hello, operator.
Hen-ree, is that you?
Gee whiz, Mother.
Yes, where are you?
Down at Springer's Hardware. And look, could I charge a small item or two to Father?
But
just
dear...
a window pane and some putty.
Hen-ree, what for?
You mean you want to go into all the boring, uninteresting details now?
Yes, dear.
But I'm right here in the store with Mr. Springer in a nightshirt.
Hen-ree, you wearing what?
No, it's Mr. Springer, see, and he's shivering. So won't you please say yes?
Well...
Gee, thanks, Mother. You can wrap them up, Mr. Springer. And another thing, Mother.
Yes, dear?
Well, I got sort of separated from Diane, see?
You mean you found her?
Sure, Mother, only I lost her again. When the window broke. We both had to run. So would you mind phoning her folks for me and see if she went home?
My goodness.
And then would you please phone Homer and tell him I'm practically on my way to the party?
But Hen-ree...
All I have to do now is repair a little something and find Diane and round up some records, and then I'm all set.
Hello? Hello, Alice.
Sam, where are you now?
I'm phoning from Schubert's Delicatessen.
Where?
Schubert's Delicatessen. It's on the south side of town.
Dear, what are you doing there?
What am I doing? I'm looking for Diane.
But, Sam...
And this ice cream is beginning to melt.
Oh, mister.
Oh, just a minute, Alice.
Mister, did I hear you say you were looking for Diane?
Why, yes.
I'll tell her you're here.
You mean she's... hello, Alice.
Yes, Sam?
Alice, I found Diane.
Well, thank goodness. Henry will be so happy. Just take her and the ice cream and the lemons and the toothpaste straight over to the party at home.
Very well.
And, Sam, I just phoned Diane's parents, and they're terribly upset.
What about?
Well, they thought she was lost. So would you please stop by a drugstore again and buy some spirits of ammonia for Diane's mother?
Diane's mother?
Yes, dear. She's been having hysterics.
Good heaven.
And hurry, Sam. Goodbye.
Diane will be right with you, mister, as soon as she's through waiting on that table.
What's that? Now, hold on. There must be a mistake.
While you're waiting, what kind of meat do you like?
Meat?
Sure, Diane's boyfriends always buy something.
I am not one of Diane's boyfriends.
Sure, mister, sure. Now, what kind of meat do you like?
The jukebox runs out.
Oh, I'd love to.
Gee, you're a swell dancer.
Oh, do you really think so, Homer?
Do you suppose we could dance a little faster?
Faster?
Sure, because as soon as this number runs out, boy, that was my last
can go where there's a phonograph and some records?
Look, Diane, let's just put our heads together and we'll think of something.
Henry, what is it you're trying to say?
Isn't it clear, Mother? I'm in a music shop on the edge of town, see, and I finally got some records.
You mean you bought them?
No, I got them on the cuff, on account of my face.
Your face?
Sure. The man said one thing about it, it's honest.
Well, dear, that's fine. Then you're all fixed up.
I am?
Well, didn't I tell you your father found Diane?
Sure, but, well, frankly, Mother, there's a slight new development.
Henry, it's nothing serious.
Serious? Oh, no.
What is it?
Well, brace yourself.
Henry, what's happened?
I just discovered I sort of lost Miss Spencer's phonograph.
You lost it?
Well, not exactly. That is, I have something else instead.
What?
A typewriter.
Oh, my heavens.
The case looks exactly the same, Mother, so you can't blame the fellow too much.
What fellow?
On the streetcar. The fellow who picked up my phonograph and left me this typewriter.
Oh, my goodness. Henry, hang up.
Hang up?
I think I can catch your father at Diane's house.
Oh, excuse me, sir.
Okay, mister. Don't do it again.
Don't do what?
Drip milk in the dirt.
It isn't milk, it's ice cream.
I got enough to do sweeping out these streetcars without people traipsing through and dripping milk.
Well, look, suppose I just sit down here where I'll be out of your way.
Can't sit there.
Why not?
That's the motorman's seat.
I don't intend starting your streetcar.
Just the same, you can't sit there. Company rules.
All right. May I just ask you a simple question?
Last time a layman sat on the motorman's seat, there was trouble.
Well, look, you have a lost and found department down here at the car barns, haven't you?
It wasn't the lost and found.
What wasn't?
Fellow run the thing right off the tracks and smack into the cafeteria.
Look, I'm not interested in your cafeteria.
It's closed anyway.
May I just ask one simple question?
I don't see why not.
Well, now look. A little while ago, my son was riding on a streetcar.
This streetcar?
I don't know what streetcar. It doesn't matter what streetcar. The point is...
Mister...
yes?
You're dripping in my dirt again.
I'm very sorry. The point is he had a phonograph.
On the streetcar?
Of course on the streetcar.
Can't play music on the streetcar. Company rules.
He wasn't playing it. He was carrying it. That is, he set it down, and when he picked it up, he had a typewriter.
Is that so?
Yes.
Sounds like a good trick.
No, it was very simple. Someone else took his phonograph.
I know a few good tricks myself. Take a number.
What?
Any number. Go on.
Now, wait. All I want to know is this. Was a phonograph turned in here this evening?
A phonograph?
Yes, belonging to my son.
Oh, you're trying to find your son's phonograph.
Yes.
Why didn't you say so?
You mean there was one turned in?
Oh, say, look at that time.
Was there?
Sorry, mister. Time for me to go home.
What?
You tell your story to the night man.
Now, wait a minute.
Can I move the footstool over for you, Sam? Or bring you your slippers?
Alice, there's only one thing you can bring me.
Yes, dear. What is it?
A large spoon.
A spoon?
Yes, I'm going to eat this ice cream.
Dear, you mean you didn't take it over to the Browns?
Under the circumstances, I did not go near the Browns.
But, dear, what about Elizabeth's toothpaste?
All my life, I've wanted to eat a whole quart of ice cream, and now I'm going to sit here quietly by the fire with my book and enjoy myself.
Of course, dear. Wouldn't you like me to bring you a straw?
Never mind. I'll just drink it. Oh, here, you can take this out to the kitchen.
What is it?
Salami.
Salami?
Diane's boyfriends always buy something.
My goodness.
Alice, what's the racket upstairs?
It's Henry, dear.
Henry, isn't he at the party?
He can't find the party. They all left Homer's house for DeHaven's, and where they went from there, nobody knows. So Henry's up in his room typing.
Typing?
He's decided to give up society and write a book.
He has my wholehearted cooperation.
But, dear, what are we going to do about the lost phonograph?
Henry can pay for it when he sells his book.
Now, Sam.
Alice, we'll worry about that tomorrow. Right now, all I want to do is to sit back and put my feet up and relax.
You go right ahead, dear.
Alice, don't move.
Sam, there's someone at the door.
I know there is, but don't move. This is our quiet night at home.
Yoo-hoo! Anybody home?
Hello! Alice, who's that?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Get on, George.
Well. Hello there, Mr. Aldrich.
Well, hello. Oh, Alice, this is Mr. and Mrs. Conway, Diane's parents.
So glad to meet you,
Nice to
Mrs.
meet you,
Aldrich.
Aldrich.
Oh, Mr. Aldrich, I can't begin to thank you for all you've done for Diane this evening.
I don't mind telling you we were pretty worried about her for a while.
But now that the children are all having such a lovely party over at our house, we felt we should drop by and say thank you.
Well, you're quite welcome.
And since we've never met you before, Mrs. Aldrich, Cora thought it would be nice if we really got acquainted.
George, move that chair over a little closer.
We thought the four of us could sort of have our own little party.
Well,
Yes.
well, isn't that grand?
Does your family hang up their stockings on Christmas Eve?
Gee whiz, Homer, who'd want to do a childish thing like that?
Okay, Henry, okay, but I'd just like to point out one thing.
What, Homer?
It may be childish, but think of all the extra surprise presents you get.
Right, and say, here's a surprise package for your holiday meals. The new Jell-O rice pudding, newest member of the famous Jell-O family. There was never anything quite like it before. Jell-O pudding, the 10-minute marvel. All you do is add milk and boil gently for 10 minutes. No fussy mixing, no bothersome custard to make, no cooking for hours on end. And you get rice pudding so delicious, even expert cooks are amazed. Super rich, gloriously creamy, with real honest-to-goodness homemade flavor. You can have it plain or fancy, thick or thin, however you like it best. And once you've tried Jell-O rice pudding, you'll never make rice pudding any other way. So buy it. Try it. The 10-minute marvel, the new Jell-O rice pudding.
Here's hoping you'll be in your living room and ours next week at the same time. Good night, folks.
The Aldrich Family, starring Ezra Stone as Henry with Jackie Kelk as Homer, is written by Patricia Jowdry and Del Dinsdale with music by Jack Miller. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are House Jameson and Catherine Roth. And this is Dan Seymour in New York saying, The Aldrich Family is brought to you by the Jell-O family.
For desserts that are delicious, boy, believe me, you should know. They are made by famous Jell-O.
Stay tuned now for the Burns and Allen Show and their special guest tonight, Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Colton.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
And now, a Merry Christmas to you. And here, the Aldrich Family on NBC.
Hen-ree Al-drich. Coming, Mother.
Yes, it's the Aldrich Family is transcribed, written by Clifford Goldsmith. The holiday season is always the wide-eyed time of the year for a typical teenage boy. But no matter how wide open his eyes are, he's almost certain to walk right smack into some assorted troubles, especially if he's like Hen-ree Al-drich. The scene opens at the Aldrich breakfast table. The time is morning.
10, 11, 12.
Henry, will you pass the cream, please?
The cream, Mary, here you are. 12, 13.
Henry, that's the sugar you're passing.
Oh, excuse me, here. 12, 13, 14.
Henry, may I have that piece of toast if you aren't going to eat it?
I'm going to eat it, Mother. Was that 13 or 14?
12.
Now, Sam, don't rattle him. It was 14, dear.
14? Are you sure?
Yes, Henry.
14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Well, gee whiz.
What's the matter?
Do you know how many Christmas cards I received this time last year?
How many?
Well, according to my records, 35. That shows how times change.
Oh, Henry, this is only the day before Christmas. There's one more delivery.
Well, I know, Mother, but all my old standbys are heard from. I can't depend on any new ones coming in.
Henry, are you sure you have the right attitude toward Christmas?
The right attitude, Father? Well, I've got to know where I stand, don't I? I've slipped back to practically 1949.
All right, dear, all right. Eat your cereal.
Yeah, I'm eating it, Mother.
Sam, did we send the Whitmores a card?
The Whitmores? Who are the Whitmores?
Well, don't you remember? We met them on the train coming back from Chicago.
You mean that trip we took way back in 1946?
Yes.
And they're still sending us cards?
Every Christmas. Naturally, we ought to send them one. Henry, are you going to Nancy Adams' party tonight?
What's that, Mary?
The party tonight. Are you going?
Well, I'll tell you, Mary.
Henry, Nancy isn't giving a party on Christmas Eve, is she?
Well, in a way, she's giving it on Christmas Eve.
What do you mean, in a way she is?
Well, Father, I hope you don't think I'm going to walk out on my whole family tonight. You don't have to worry about that.
You mean you're not going, Henry?
Mary, do you have to pin your own brother down like that? I'm just going for a little while.
Why, Henry, we always spend Christmas Eve together as a family, and then go to church together.
Mother, I thought that after we got the tree trimmed, well, naturally we'd want to sit around and rest for a second. And I thought that while we're resting, I'd just race over and say hello to the gang and then come around and meet you at the church.
Oh, you had it all figured out, huh?
Well, I didn't have it figured out exactly. I just thought I'd be prepared if the subject came up.
Well, dear, I'm sorry to have to tell you, but you're not going to any party tonight.
Not even for 12 minutes?
Not even for 2 minutes. My goodness, Henry, don't you realize tonight is Christmas Eve?
Alice, who are Ed and Bill?
Ed and Bill? Ed and Bill who, dear?
I don't know. His card's just signed Ed and Bill.
Well, isn't that strange?
Mother, is the subject of the party dropped for good?
Yes, dear. Sam, look at this.
At what?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards here from people we haven't sent cards to. And here it is the day before Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Gee whiz, Homer. Where'd you come from? Hello, Mrs. Aldrich.
Good morning, Homer. Hello, Homer.
Good morning, Homer.
Henry, I've got a very private piece of news for you. You have? Gee whiz, is that coffee cake?
Yes, dear. Wouldn't you like to go out in the kitchen and get a plate and have a piece?
Well, no, thank you. I've got my gloves on. I'll just take a piece right here.
Homer, what's that in your coat lapel?
Mistletoe, Mary.
Oh.
Mr. Aldrich, you expecting any telegrams today?
Telegrams?
Because if you are, I'll keep my eyes open for them for you.
Why? Are you working down at the telegraph office?
Well, not yet exactly, Mrs. Aldrich, but I've been talking to them about it. And things may open up at the last minute. Will you excuse me, please, everybody? Come on, Homer.
Henry, you didn't fold your napkin.
I didn't even unfold it.
Alice, we didn't meet anybody by the name of Ed and Bill at Atlantic City that summer, did we?
Homer, what do you got to tell me? Gee, I got wonderful news for you, I think. What about? Eleanor's going to give you a Christmas present. Who, me? Well, sure. I just met her on the street, and she wanted me to ask you to meet her in front of the Centerville gift shop just as soon as you can get there. Well, gee, what makes you think she's going to give me something? That's why she wants you to meet us. You can help her pick out a wallet. A wallet? I'm not kidding you, Henry. I swear that's what she told me. Oh, but did Eleanor come right out and say she was going to give it to me? Well, of course she didn't. I said to her, you mean you're getting it for Henry? And she got all red and embarrassed and said, well, of course not. I'm getting it for my father. But I could tell she was covering up. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. And I'm to meet her down at the gift shop, she said? Well, sure. Just as soon as you can get there.
Hello, is this Toby Smith?
Yes?
Well, this is Eleanor Wentworth. Toby, could you meet me down at the gift shop in the next 15 minutes?
At the Centerville gift shop?
Yes, I'm there now. I want you to help me pick out a wallet.
A wallet? You mean a man's wallet?
Yes, of course, only I don't know anything about that sort of thing.
You mean you're getting...
It's for my father.
For your father. For your father. That's a hot one.
Toby, really it is, and I'd love to see what kind you'd pick out.
Well, sure, Eleanor. Oh, boy, I'll be down there in 10 minutes.
Hello?
Hello, Alice. This is Sam.
Yes, dear, where are you?
Down at the office. Do you remember the Mulligans?
The Mulligans?
They live over in Abbott City. What's his first name?
Well, I believe it's Joe.
Joe?
Yes, I'm sure it's Joe.
And the Mulligans didn't send that card from Ed and Bill. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Father, will you please take a look at this Christmas card I just got?
Well, let me see it.
Isn't that embarrassing? I bet it cost 75 cents.
Who's it from, dear?
From Homer. Isn't that embarrassing?
Oh, well, now, I think it was a very nice thing for him to do.
But, Mother, do I have to send one back to him?
Well, of course, Mary. Now, please don't bother me, dear. I've got to wrap up that fruitcake I've been meaning to send Mrs. Hawkins all week.
To Mrs. Hawkins?
Yes, dear. She has 3 boys in the service, and she's all alone this Christmas.
Mother! Mother, where are you?
I'm out here in the kitchen, Henry, and I'm very busy.
Well, I'm very sorry to interrupt you like this, but could I have a talk with you confidentially about something important?
Well, what's happened, dear?
Well, nothing. Only could you please step into the dining room a second? Mary, I don't like to be rude, but this is about Christmas.
Oh, that's all right, Henry. Only I hope you're not going to spend a whole lot on me.
On who? Now, Mary, don't start getting any ideas.
Henry, you'll have to hurry. I haven't more than a minute.
Yes, Mother. Here's what happened. Eleanor Wentworth has given me a $3.95 wallet, plus tax.
What's that?
A wallet. It's made of leather, and it even has a place for my student body.
For your what?
My student body card. That's in case if I'm in an accident, people will know who I am.
Well, now, just 1 minute, dear. Suppose you calm down and tell me very slowly what it is that happened.
But, Mother, there's no time to lose. I've got to have $4.
What for?
Don't you understand? I've got to give Eleanor a present just as good as the one she's giving me, haven't I?
Well, frankly, Henry, if Eleanor at her age wants to spend money on presents for boys, it's none of my business. But I don't believe I have $4 to give you to buy her anything.
But, Mother, what am I going to do about Toby Smith?
What's that?
Well, Toby Smith was down there, too, putting in his 2 cents worth because he thinks the wallet's for him. And Eleanor pointed out something that she's crazy about. And it costs $4. And if I don't beat him to it, he'll get it first. And then won't I look like a fool?
Henry, if you have $4 of your own, that's something else. But I really don't think I should give it to you.
Mother, will you please look at what I just discovered? I'm certainly not going to send a card to Homer.
Why not, Mary?
Look, Mother, I held the card he sent me under a very strong light, and look at what's been erased on it. I hope you like your gun. Love, Aunt Beth.
Well, dear, Homer was probably just cutting down expenses.
Mary, could you step into the living room while I have a confidential talk with you for a second?
What about?
Christmas.
Oh, you want some advice?
Mary, do you remember what it was I was going to do just as Henry came in?
No, Mother. Well, Henry?
Do you know Toby Smith?
Yes.
Do you like him?
Henry, I can't stand him.
Mary, I'm sure glad to hear you say that. Could you lend me $4?
$4?
Well, look, Mary, if I don't give Eleanor more than a 25-cent handkerchief, I'll never be able to walk on a public street again. And I know just exactly what she wants.
What?
Well, she pointed it out in the gift shop. She said it was about the nicest thing she'd ever seen.
What was it?
Mary, haven't you even been listening? A Christmas tree that lights up.
A what?
To wear on the lapel of your coat. It's a pin, see, and it has a little battery in it.
Really?
Sure, and it's only $4. And they've only got one left.
But, Henry, you already owe me money.
Hey, Henry! Gee whiz, Homer, where are you? Boy, I think I'm going to get that job delivering telegrams this afternoon. Oh, that's fine. Listen, Mary. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Homer.
Have the mails been coming through all right today?
Yes.
Well, how do you feel?
I feel just fine.
Oh. Homer, what is it you want? Listen, did you know Toby Smith is taking Eleanor to the party tonight? You're crazy. Who told you that? Toby did. I met him just a little while ago on his way home. He had to get some money to buy something. Mary, do you hear that? Haven't you got any family pride? Which counter is it at, Henry? It's right over here, Homer. Oh, mister.
Something I can do for you, young man?
Yes, sir. I came back to get the tree.
What's that?
The Christmas tree that lights up.
Oh, yes. We do have a nice one here in the store this year, haven't we?
I guess he's hard of hearing, Henry. No, the little Christmas tree.
The what?
Don't you remember the little Christmas tree that surprises you when it lights up?
Oh, you mean the pin?
Sure. I finally got the $4 for it.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's just been sold.
What's that? It's been sold?
Less than 10 minutes ago.
Well, that's a fine thing. After I promised to make my sister's bed every morning for a month as compound interest.
I'm sorry, sir.
Hey, look, Henry, how about getting Eleanor just a straight flashlight? Boy, I saw one that's so powerful it'll blind her. Oh, now, what would she do with a flashlight? Well, I know darn well I'd like it. Mister, are you positive that pin's been sold?
Well, there's the clerk over there who made the sale. She might even be able to tell you who bought it.
Oh, I know who bought it. I just don't see how he got down here so fast. And Eleanor said herself it's the only pin she's ever seen she really likes.
Hey, mister.
Gee whiz, Toby, what are you doing back here?
Mister, how about that Christmas tree that lights up like a pin? I mean, you know what I mean.
I beg your pardon?
The pin.
I'm sorry, young man, but that pin's been sold.
It's been sold? Yeah. Oh, now listen, Henry.
Gee whiz, Toby, you mean you didn't buy it?
Now listen, Henry, I'm supposed to get that for Eleanor. Hand it over.
Hand what over? I haven't got it.
Toby, stop pushing, Henry.
That's what I say.
Listen, Homer Brown, did you buy it? Hey.
Now listen, Toby.
Now, wait a minute, boys. Wait a minute. Be careful of that piece on earth side.
Aldrich speaking.
Oh, hello, Sam. This is Alice.
Yeah?
Didn't you room with someone at Princeton by that name?
By what name?
Ed or Bill?
He didn't have both names. Anyhow, we called him Murph.
Oh. Well, the reason I called, dear, is to ask what we ought to do about Homer.
Homer, what's happened to him?
Well, he was here just a little while ago, and after he left, I found a card on the living room table addressed to me.
Yes?
Well, he's apparently saving postage. Don't you think I ought to give him something rather nice?
All right. How about one of your fruitcakes?
Sam, that reminds me. Don't let me forget to send Mrs. Hawkins that fruitcake.
That's a nice idea. No one in town I'd rather remember. She's got 3 sons in the service.
That's the way I feel.
And Alice, it's starting to snow pretty hard. Tell Henry he'd better start shoveling.
Well, Henry isn't here right now.
Well, when he comes in, tell him.
All right, dear. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Mother!
Yes, Henry?
I've got to ask you something.
Dear, your father wants you to keep the walks cleared of snow.
Sure, Mother, but listen. Who could this be? She's a lady, see? She's a lady.
What's that?
Well, now, wait, Mother. She's a lady about so high, see, and she wears a black coat with a black fur collar. Who is she?
Henry, what are you talking about?
Who is she, Mother? Who is she? I've got to know.
Is this a game, Henry?
A game? Mother, my whole Christmas is at stake. She's my only clue.
Henry, I can't possibly know who you're talking about.
Well, gee whiz, you know all the ladies in town. Now, listen very carefully. She comes up to here on me, see? She wears a black coat with fur cuffs.
I thought you said a fur collar.
I did? Sure. And she's not very heavy. She weighs maybe... Well, you know Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Well, she isn't like that at all, but that'll give you an idea. And she wears her eyeglasses on a chain.
Oh, my goodness. Henry, why do you have to know the answer?
She's got the tree. She's got the tree.
Whose tree?
My tree that I'm giving Eleanor.
What's that?
She got there ahead of Toby and me, don't you see? The clerk described her to me, and I got to find her and make her an offer.
She wears her glasses on a chain, and she's about so high.
And fur on a coat.
Well, the only person that reminds me of is Mrs. Kittinger.
Mrs. Kittinger? Gee whiz, why didn't I think of her? I'll go right over.
Now, wait a minute, Henry. It might just possibly be Mrs. Tarbell.
Mrs. Tarbell? Sure, that sounds like Mrs. Tarbell. I'll go right over.
No, wait. I just thought of someone else who wears her glasses on a chain.
A woman?
Oh, yes, of course, Miss Perkins.
Miss Perkins? All right, I'll try Miss Perkins, Mrs. Tarbell, and Mrs. Kittinger.
And don't forget the front wall.
No, I won't, Mother. Just as soon as I've taken care of this. Goodbye.
Henry, I thought of someone else. Henry?
Hello there, Henry Aldrich. Won't you step inside?
No, thanks, Mrs. Kittinger. I only get snow all over your rug.
Oh, my goodness, look at the snow. Well, what can I do for you, Henry?
Well, first, do you have a coat with fur on it?
Why, not to give away, Henry.
No, I was just wondering. I thought you wore glasses.
Why, I do sometimes. Did your mother send you over?
Well, in a way, she did. Were you down at the gift shop this morning?
Yes, I was.
Well, did you make a purchase there?
Yes, of course. As a matter of fact, it was very foolish of me to wait until the last minute. There was hardly anything left.
I'll say.
Henry, just what was it you wanted?
Nothing. Gee, your walk certainly needs shoveling, doesn't it?
Yes, I'm afraid it does.
Well, Mrs. Kittinger, if you have a shovel, I'd be very glad to clean it off for you.
Well, now, that's very thoughtful of you, Henry. And I'd be glad to pay you.
Oh, no, I wouldn't take any money from you. But when I get through, Mrs. Kittinger, you're going to be around, aren't you?
Yes.
Because I want to have a little talk with you.
Why, Hen-ree Al-drich.
How do you do, Mrs. Tarbell? Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you.
Well, I'm sure glad to see you're wearing your glasses on a chain.
What's that?
Boy, did I make a mistake over at Mrs. Kittinger's. She wears them, but they're not on a chain. And that's where I got off on the wrong foot.
Henry, didn't I see you just as I was leaving the gift shop this morning?
Did you?
Yes, I'm sure I did.
Mrs. Tarbell, how would you like to have your walk cleaned?
We'll return to the Aldrich family in just a moment. Later this evening, NBC will deliver a Christmas package bursting with good cheer. A radio adaptation of Charles Dickens' classic, The Pickwick Papers. Our stars will be Alan Webb, Melville Cooper, and Cyril Richard. The Pickwick Papers over the years has become the favorite of young and old alike, and it's in keeping with the holiday season. Don't miss The Pickwick Papers, as brought to you by Theater Guild on the Air later tonight. Now, tomorrow night, NBC will bring you more Yuletime entertainment when the Railroad Hour welcomes as guest soprano Dorothy Kirsten. Miss Kirsten will join your singing host, Gordon McCrae, in excerpts from The Nutcracker Suite and Christmas songs of many countries. Stay stay tuned to NBC tomorrow evening, the Monday night of music. You'll hear the telephone hour, the voice of Firestone, an old-fashioned band concert by Paul Laval and the Band of America, and NBC's newest show, which features the talents of Marguerite Piazza, Robert Merrill, and NBC's man about music, Meredith Wilson. Now, getting back to the troubles of Hen-ree Al-drich. Well, so far, this Christmas, Henry's one purpose is to catch up with the lady who bought the only pin of its kind in town, a pin that cost $4 and that looks like a small Christmas tree, which Eleanor said she'd just love to have if anyone wanted to give her anything. The scene opens in the Aldrich living room.
Dad, are you home?
I am. I thought I sent word for Henry to clean off our walk.
Well, dear, I asked him to, but he went out and he hasn't come back since.
Ah, and look at me. I had to wade through a drift up to my knees.
Well, you go right up and change your clothes.
What's gotten into that boy? He can take time to shovel other people's walks, but not ours.
Why do you say that?
Miss Perkins stopped me on the street on the way home and told me how nice it was of Henry to come over and clean her walk.
Well, my goodness.
Oh, and here, see whether you can figure these Christmas cards out. One is signed Ida and one is signed Van.
Ida? I never heard of Ida.
Well, who's Van?
Well, that isn't the point, dear. But why would any Ida be sending you a card at the office?
I'm going up and soak my feet.
Hello?
This is Western Union calling. Is Hen-ree Al-drich there?
No, he isn't. Do you have a telegram for him?
No, I just wanted to say hello.
Who is this?
It's Homer. I got the job. Goodbye.
What's that?
Mother, I have that fruitcake ready for Mrs. Hawkins.
You have, Mary? Sam!
Yes, Alice?
Have you started to soak yet?
What?
For my gracious. Christmas is always like this. Hello?
Is this Miss Aldrich?
Yes?
This is Mrs. Kittinger. I just wanted to call and tell you how nice it was of you to send Henry over.
What's that?
I say it was so sweet of you to send Henry over to clean my walk.
Oh. Oh, did he clean yours, too?
Yes, he did a perfect job. And he wouldn't take a cent. All he wanted to do was come in and look at the presents I'm giving.
What's that?
All right, Alice. What is it you want?
Merry Christmas, Mrs. Aldrich.
Well, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Sam, what are you doing down here in your bare feet?
You asked me to come down. What do you want?
Oh. Oh, well, I was going to ask you to take that fruitcake over to Mrs. Hawkins, but I guess it will have to wait.
But I'm down here now.
No, dear, you go right back up and soak.
Hey, Henry, isn't that you?
Sure, Homer. What is it you want?
Well, come on with me while I deliver a couple of telegrams. Gee whiz, I'm tired. I'm going home. It's only a few blocks out of your way. Homer, look at me. My feet are wet. I haven't had any lunch. Boy, what have you been doing? I've been shoveling every walk in town. Boy, did my mother double-cross me. Yeah, but look, Henry, my first stop is Mrs. Hawkins, just 3 doors down the street. I'll even let you borrow one of my gloves. Here, take the right one. I carry my telegrams in the left one. Thanks. And one of the telegrams I've got is a war message. A what? Sure, it's from John Hawkins to his mother. He's in an army camp down in Texas. I thought John Hawkins was in Korea. No, his 2 brothers are in Korea. Now, here's the house right here. And that's a war message you have for her? Well, sure. John says he's very sorry, but he wasn't able to get a furlough to come home. And he's also sorry he and his brothers can't all be here tonight to spend an old-fashioned Christmas with their mother. Yeah? And then he wishes her a Merry Christmas. Homer, I thought you weren't supposed to read confidential messages. Well, she was. I haven't read you the message, Henry. Besides, everybody will know about it tomorrow.
Oh, how do you do, boys?
How do you do, Mrs. Hawkins? A telegram.
For me? Won't you step in while I see whether it needs an answer?
Well, okay. Only I don't think you'll find it does, Mrs. Hawkins.
No? Now, let me see if I can get my glasses untangled. This chain is always catching on something.
Can I help you untangle it?
No, thank you. I have it.
Mrs. Hawkins!
I'll be there in just 1 minute.
Gee whiz, Homer, that sounds like Toby Smith in the living room.
Mrs. Hawkins, this is it, all right. I'll pay you $4 for it.
Toby, what are you doing here? Hey, look, Homer, they're on a chain.
Why?
The glasses. Now listen, Toby, you can't have that pin.
Get away, Henry.
Now listen, Toby. Henry, don't let him push you like that.
Boys, look out for that angel.
Now listen, Henry. There, darn you. Hey!
Boys, watch the door.
Well, gee whiz.
Would you mind putting another log on the fire, please?
That's just what I'm going to do.
My goodness, but it's an awful night out. You ought to look out the window, Mother. I've never seen so much snow on Christmas Eve.
Mary, straighten that piece of holly that's hanging right over your father.
All right. Hold still, Father.
I can't lift the log and hold still, too.
And dear, look out for the sparks.
They're all right.
Mary, when Henry came a while ago, exactly what did he say?
He just asked whether you and Father were in, and I said no, you'd gone out to do some shopping, and then he ran upstairs. And when he came down, he had his best suit on.
And that's all he said.
Well, he said to tell you he finally straightened out the whole problem of Eleanor's present, and that he was in an awful hurry to get down to the glass cutters and something about a party.
Sam, what do you think we ought to do?
Phone wherever the party is and tell him to come home.
Now, dear, we aren't going to do anything like that.
Didn't you explain to Henry that we always spend Christmas Eve together, as all families do?
Dear, if Henry doesn't want to spend this evening with us, it's something I'm not going to force him to do.
Mother, don't you think he ought to be punished?
Mary, dear, will you go out to the kitchen and get that big bowl of fruit and nuts out there?
Yes, Mother.
Cheer up, Alice. He'll be along shortly.
Sam, I'm afraid Henry doesn't even begin to know what Christmas really means. The one thing he's thought about all day is himself and that present he wanted to get Eleanor. That's the only thing that's meant anything to him. He didn't shovel the walk. He didn't get the cellar window fixed. Oh, my goodness, Sam. That reminds me. You didn't get that fruitcake over to Mrs. Hawkins.
Well, how could I, Alice? I had to go out and shovel the walk for Henry.
Oh, I know, dear. But here it is Christmas Eve and Mrs. Hawkins. Well, of all the people in this town, we should have sent one.
All right, Alice, all right. I'll take it over first thing tomorrow.
Well, can't we take it over now?
Tonight in this storm?
Well, we could certainly drop it off on the way to church, can't we?
Alice, I realize Mrs. Hawkins misses her boys like everything, but the church is in one direction and the Hawkins house is in the other. It's snowing to beat the band. I'll take it over first thing tomorrow.
Very well.
Incidentally, I wonder how the Hawkins boys are getting along.
Well, I understand she hears from them quite often.
Yes, there was always one thing about them. They were devoted to their mother.
Yes.
Alice, don't cry. I didn't mean it that way.
I'm not crying.
Here's the bowl of fruit and nuts, Mother. Will you have some?
No, dear. What would I want with any fruit and nuts?
Why, it's Christmas Eve. Father?
I'm not hungry, Mary.
What's the matter? I thought you wanted me to bring them in.
We did, dear. Just put them down there on the table where they'll look Christmassy.
Oh.
And light the candles on the piano just as though... Dear, where are you going?
I'm going to phone Henry and tell him to leave that party and come home.
Sam Aldrich, I don't want you to.
But, Mother, if Father doesn't, Henry won't even be here to go to church with us.
Now, Henry knows we're going. If he isn't here by then, we'll go alone.
When they had heard the king, they departed. And lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. Let us all rise while we sing, We Three Kings of Orient Are.
Sam.
Yes, Alice.
Sam, look.
Where?
Just 3 rows ahead. It's Mrs. Hawkins.
Yeah? You mean we should have brought the fruitcake with us?
No, dear.
Look who's with her. My goodness, Mother, look. Have the 3 Hawkins boys come home?
No, Mary. Can't you see who that is with her? It's Henry and Homer and Toby. Sam.
Uh-huh.
Just look at Henry. I've never seen him look so nice.
Alice, I've just remembered who Ed and Bill are. They're Mrs. Hawkins' 2 sons in Korea.
of the brightest futures open today is ready for the girl who chooses nursing as her profession. You'll receive a professional education. You'll work with doctors and professional people. You'll associate with the finest citizens in the community. What's especially important, you'll be serving humanity and be ready to serve your country in time of emergency. You can join this hand-picked group of young women if you're a high school graduate or a college student of good health and character. Talk it over with your school advisor, or go to your nearest hospital today and ask how you can become a nurse. The Aldrich Family is transcribed as written by Clifford Goldsmith. Henry is played by Bobby Ellis and Homer by Jack Grimes. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are House Jameson and Barbara Robbins. Your announcer is Dick Dudley. Listen again next week, same time, same station, for another sparkling half hour with the Aldrich Family.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
And now for the Aldrich Family. The actions of a teenage boy are about as explosive as a thunderstorm. They never cease as long as he has an ounce of energy to draw on. And with Hen-ree Al-drich, there are usually a few extra ounces in reserve. It is Saturday morning, and the scene opens on Homer Brown's front veranda.
Homer, look at it this way. It's January.
Stand back, Henry. You're crowding me.
And what better month is there to go fishing in than January?
Henry, can't you see I'm busy washing storm windows?
But think of it, Homer. You cut a hole in the ice, see, and you sit there, and the night's frosty air. Oh, it's not too frosty. Just healthy.
Henry, why should I go sitting around in the air when I can watch storm windows for my father?
Homer, do you feel well?
Yeah, will you step aside? Boy, after all my father's done for me, it's the least I can do.
But, Homer, think of the size fish there must be in Fletcher's Pond. They've been growing ever since summer.
There's no use asking me, Henry. When my father wants me to do something, boy, I certainly wouldn't let him down.
What? Homer, are you sure you feel well?
He's right in the living room there.
Oh, he is?
Sure, listening to every word we say. Can't you see he's left the window open?
I don't see him.
Well, he's there. My mother finally put her foot down on these windows.
What?
I'm washing the outside, and my father's washing the inside. And we can't leave until they're finished.
Homer, what are you whispering about?
And Father, Henry was just... We're not whispering.
How do you do, Mr. Brown?
Henry, would you mind not confusing Homer? He can only think of one thing at a time. Right now, he's supposed to be on the window.
Well, Father, Henry was just on his way home.
I was?
Goodbye, Henry. Get busy with that sponge, Homer.
Listen, Homer, suppose I go in and have a word with your father.
What about?
You know, an appeal to his better nature.
Henry, you're licked before you start. I mean, he's pretty determined to get these windows done.
Well, it's worth a try anyway.
Watch your step, Henry. He's pretty busy. Then call me if anything happens.
Oh, Mr. Brown, are you washing the windows?
Of course I am.
In that easy chair?
Well, I just want to get the perspective from back here before I start.
Oh.
Hand me that darn sponge.
Mr. Brown, you're quite a fisherman, aren't you?
What's that?
What I mean is, fishing is good in spring, sure, but don't you agree there's no month like January?
For fishing?
Sure. Don't you agree that that's when the fish are biggest?
Yeah?
Well, they've had since summer to put on weight.
Yes, I never looked at it that way.
Sure. I'll bet if you went down to Fletcher's Pond and chopped a hole in the ice, you could catch some whoppers.
Yes, I bet you would at that.
You mean you agree with me, Mr. Brown, that a person should take advantage of a thing like that?
I certainly do.
Oh, boy, thanks. Hey, Homer, come here.
What'd you say?
I fixed it, Homer. Your father agrees that this is a perfect day for fishing.
He does? Boy, Father, you mean I don't have to wash the outside of the windows?
Of course you do.
What?
And the inside, too.
Listen, Henry, I thought you fixed it.
And get busy right away. I have to speak to your mother.
time, Father, in January.
Henry, I don't want to speak to you again about your feet. Why don't you run along and let me finish?
My feet, Father? Are you afraid they'll get frostbitten?
I'm afraid they'll get chopped off.
Oh, sure, I'll stand back.
Thank you.
Boy, look at that ice fly.
And if you could find time to shovel this front walk regularly the way you're supposed to, the ice wouldn't form like this.
I realize that, Father, and I'll certainly see to it that I do it after this.
Good.
And speaking of ice, Father, how about it?
How about what?
Going fishing.
I'm sorry, Henry, but I can't find the time today.
Couldn't you chop the ice some other time?
Not very well.
Well, couldn't you...
Henry, I tell you, I can't get out of it. Your mother's keeping an eye on me.
She is?
Don't look now, but she's right there in the living room window.
Oh. Hello, Mother.
Henry, I hope you aren't slowing up your father.
No, Mother, I'm helping him.
You are?
Sort of.
Sam!
I'm stopping, Alice.
Sam! Sam, Mary says you want it on the phone.
Oh, thank you. Here, Henry.
Gee, Father, what do I do with this?
You can chop with it.
Oh, here he comes now, Mr. Brown.
Oh, is it Will Brown?
Yes, Father, I told him you were busy, but he said this is very important.
Hello.
Hello, Sam. Do I understand you're tied up today?
Well, I'm doing a little cleaning up outside.
Oh, then it's something you could get out of?
Well, as a matter of fact, what's on your mind?
Sam, what do you say we go fishing?
What's that?
Well, there's no better month to go fishing than January.
But, Will...
You know you cut a little hole in the ice and you sit around in the nice frosty air.
What made you think of that, Will?
I heard somebody talking about it. Come on, Sam, what do you say?
Well, it's a temptation, I'll admit. The only thing is, I have this work I should do, and...
Oh, do it tomorrow.
Well, you see, Alice wants... Naturally, I don't have to do it.
Naturally. It's like I was just saying to Elizabeth. Who pays the bills around here anyway?
Did it work?
Well, no. I finally said I had to go out for some cigars.
Cigars, eh?
Yeah. I'm down at the drugstore right now with my fishing tackle.
Well, I'll meet you there in 15 minutes.
Right.
Then you meet him where, Father?
Why...
I thought you promised Mother to chop the ice on the front walk.
Why, Mary, who pays the bills around here?
My father.
That is, I think I'll go out and get some cigars.
Darn it all, anyway.
Hey, Henry.
Is that you, Homer?
Okay, Henry, let's go.
Where?
See, where do you think? Fishing.
Fishing? This is a fine time for you to decide that. Just when I have to chop up this darn sidewalk for my father.
Where's your father hiding, Henry?
He isn't hiding anyplace. He was called away on a very important conference.
He was?
And besides, I thought you had to stay home and wash windows.
But I don't anymore. My father went off someplace, so I threw in the sponge and left.
Darn it all, anyway.
You really can't go.
Homer, do you know how long it's taken me to chop this little bit of ice?
How long?
Well, it's going to take me all day to finish it.
Gee. If your father shoveled his walk once in a while, you wouldn't have all this ice.
Well, where? What are you eating?
A piece of ice. It just flew in.
Listen, Homer. Listen, if you think you can stand around all day eating ice when I'm breaking my darn back...
What are you getting at, Henry?
The least you could do is help me.
Well, why should we both break our backs? Unless... Hey.
What?
Listen, maybe we can still go fishing. Have you thought of hot water?
Hot water?
Sure. You have a hose, haven't you?
What? Sure thing.
It'd melt this ice in no time.
Well, gee, what are we standing around for?
Will.
Yes, sir. It really keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
Incidentally, how are your toes?
Oh, they're fine, Sam, as long as I keep wiggling them.
Hand me the saw again. Let's see if I can get this hole a little bigger.
Sure, you couldn't catch a minnow through a hole the size of that.
The trouble is getting it started, Will. Once I get the saw down in there, we'll be fine.
Say, I got an idea.
Yeah?
Have you got a penknife on you?
Yeah, certainly. Here.
Now, if I can just chip a little more ice off, I think we can get the saw in there.
Good idea.
Yeah, that's getting it, Sam.
you mind if I run around a bit while you were doing that? You're not cold, are you? Of course not. Just a little stiff. I'll be right with you. All right. Flap your arms, Sam. Hey, what enjoy this, Will? Makes you feel like $1 million. Say, Sam. Yes, sir. Sam, did you attach any sentimental value to that penknife? Will, you didn't drop it through. Well, now, don't worry. I'll get it back. How? I'll have Homer come out in the summer and dive for it. That's a fine thing. Now, wait a minute. Hand me my line. What for? Well, it's got a good big hook on it. I think I can fish around and hook the penknife. I doubt it, but here. Look, you go on flapping, Sam. I'll drop this in and give it a try. There. You feel anything? No, not yet. Well, let's just forget it. Hey, Will, get up off the ice. Sam, I got one. You got the penknife? I got a fish. Look at that shadow under the ice. Good heavens, it's a monster. What do I do? Land it. Well, how can I land it? Look at the size of the hole. Now, wait a minute, Will. Don't get excited. Don't just stand there. Saw the hole bigger. I can't, Will. We'll have to cut the line. Well, do something, Sam. Do something. Homer, stop shivering and stand still.
Listen, Henry, take it easy. You're rubbing the back off me.
Well, I have to get you circulating again, don't I?
Oh, can't you use a softer towel? That one feels like sandpaper.
Wait, I'll go to the linen closet and get some more towels.
You're going to leave me alone in your room with just a sheet on?
Well, then wait. I'll find you some clothes.
And all I can say is the next time you hose the sidewalk, I hope you have a little more control.
Gee whiz, Homer, it was your own fault.
My fault?
Sure. Didn't you come right out and say, turn the hose over here, Henry?
Sure I did. I didn't say turn the hose on me.
And then you jumped right in my way.
Oh, boy. You know how I feel about Fletcher's Pond?
How?
I've had enough water for one day.
Well, you know what I was just thinking?
What?
See, if it's no fun chopping ice on your own sidewalk, think how much tougher it's going to be out on Fletcher's Pond.
Sure. You stand around and break your back, and then some fish comes along and splashes ice water all over you.
Sure. And your mitts freeze to the line.
Sure.
And right here at home, we've got a fireplace and lots of wood.
Boy.
And we can sit in front of the fire with a comic book.
And a skyscraper sandwich.
Sure.
Sure. Can I have some underwear? Henry! Gee whiz.
Wait a minute, Mary.
Henry, Mother wants you... Are you making a tent in here?
A tent, Mary?
I thought I saw...
Never mind. What do you want?
Mother wants to see you down in the living room.
She does? What for?
I don't know, but you better come right down.
Mary, can't you even give me a hand?
Mother!
Mary, I don't think I've ever been so furious in my life.
Why, Mother?
Just look out the window here. Look at the condition of our front walk.
My goodness, it's a solid sheet of ice.
The postman just slipped and fell right on his mailbag. And your father promised me faithfully he'd have all that ice cleaned off today.
Mother, if it's about your guest towels, I give you my
Henry,
word.
please put your coat on.
We're going out?
You are, dear. I want you to go straight out to Fletcher's Pond.
Well, Mother, I've changed my mind.
About what?
I don't want to go to Fletcher's Pond anymore.
Well, I want you to, and you're to tell your father to come home immediately.
Father? Father's at Fletcher's Pond?
Yes, dear. Mrs. Brown and I are positive that's where they went.
He's having his conference there?
What conference?
Well, gee whiz, he said...
Henry, he's out there with Mr. Brown, fishing.
He is? We'll all be gone. Anybody home? Hey, anybody home? Where's the fire, Mr.? Oh, I'm sorry to be so noisy, but this is an emergency. Have you got an axe? Why, sure. You want to come in? No, I can't. I have to get back down to Fletcher's Pond. Well, what's the trouble? My friend and I went down there fishing, see, and all of a sudden there was this big fellow splashing around, and my friend is hanging on for dear life, and the hole isn't big enough to pull him out. You don't see? Yeah, and man, is he struggling. If we don't get him out fast, we're going to lose him. Now, you find an axe around the side on a block. Oh, fine. Thanks a lot. You get right down there and don't worry. Arthur.
Get a big pot of hot soup and some blankets. Get them down to the pond right away. Wear my boots and jacket, quick. And you better get me a rope. The fellow down there's falling through the ice.
And now getting back to the troubles of Hen-ree Al-drich. Hen-ree, in trying to talk Homer into going fishing through the ice, has succeeded only in telling both their fathers on the idea. So far, the men are having difficulties landing their fish, and the boys have been sent out to find them. The scene opens at Fletcher's farm.
Hurry up, Will. I'm freezing to death. Now, listen, Sam. I got up to that farmhouse and back as quick as I could. Well, at least you've been moving. Here, you hold the fish line and let me start. Now, that suits me. Oh, boy, it's good to sit down. Get your feet out of the way, Will. My feet are all right. Let's hurry and get that fish out and get home. Well, be long now. Who's that? Look, Sam, it's a lady of some kind. Have we seen who, ma'am? What's that?
Up at the north end of the pond, and we've been looking all over, and we haven't been able to find him anyplace.
Well, say, we've been here for over an hour. We haven't seen anybody around here.
My heavens, I have this hot soup and these blankets.
Look, are you sure it was Fletcher's pond this man fell into?
Why, I thought it was.
You don't think he could have gone through up at Birch's Creek? Sure, if he isn't here, he must be up there.
Well, then we better get up there right away. I'll go and get my husband.
We haven't time. Come on, Will, on your feet. But, Sam, what about our fish? We can't worry about that now. Tie the line to this tree over here, and we'll come back for it later.
Familiar anymore since it started to smell.
Listen. We don't find our fathers in about 5 minutes. I'm going home.
But, Homer, maybe they're lost. Oh, Homer, where are you?
I'm down here. I quit.
Oh, here, I'll help you up.
Henry, you know what I think? I think we're lost.
How could we be if this is Fletcher's pond?
But, Henry, I just tripped over a fence.
What?
And there aren't any fences around Fletcher's pond.
Homer, this isn't any fence. It's a piece of string.
Now, listen, Henry, I'm not that weak.
But look, Homer. Look, it's tied to a tree.
It is?
And it's jiggling.
Henry, you're crazy.
Wait while I follow it along. It's definitely jiggling.
Gee, you're right. Wait till I get some of the snow away.
Look at this. It goes down through a hole in the ice.
Henry, look.
What?
There's a fish on the end of it. A great big fish.
Well, I'll be darned. Pull it out.
The hole isn't big enough.
Oh, gee whiz, look what's here under the snow.
What?
And that.
Henry, it's a miracle.
Either that, Homer, or it's a dream.
Even if it is, let's chop a great big hole and get that fish out before we wake up.
Well, if you'd turn around and walk frontwards, we'd get there a lot faster.
Look, you walk your way, Sam, and I'll walk mine.
Now, granted, the snow's flowing in block faces.
Yes, and I've walked into all the trees I'm going to walk into.
You're still bumping into trees, walking backwards.
I can stand it better that way.
Anyway, here's Fletcher's pond.
Boy, I'd like to get my hands on the guy who started us on this wild goose chase.
Well, we pretty well had to go. Well, suppose somebody really had fallen through the ice.
We had to go, sure. I wouldn't have minded going up there and taking a quick look around.
Now, I'll take nice and around here someplace.
That woman insisting that we hunt for 3 solid hours. I tell you, I don't think I'll ever thaw out.
Do you remember what tree we tied our fish line to?
Oh, look at that. Look at that snow all over the place.
Now, Will.
Even if we do find the tree, how are we going to find the fish?
Well, if we can only keep our sense of humor, we'll be all right.
What?
Things aren't really so bad. As a matter of fact, look.
Where?
There's our tree. I distinctly remember that broken branch. Now, hole in the ice. Can't see too far from here.
Oh, we'll never find it in this snow, Sam. A tiny little hole like that.
We'll find it all right.
Look! Sam! Will! Pull me out!
Does that fire feel good?
Would you like some more hot soup, John?
I sure would. Be sure to keep that blanket over your shoulders now, Martha. Oh, I will. We'll be lucky if we don't both catch pneumonia. When I think of going over Fletcher's Pond, inch by inch.
And, John, if you could have only seen those poor men hunting with me up there at Birch's Tree.
Now, who would that be?
Well, you going to answer?
I guess I better.
Well, sorry I'm not getting the draft on.
Yes, come quick, mister. Oh, it's you again. Hurry, bring those blankets and hot soup. My friend just fell through the ice. Oh, yeah? Well, tell it to the Marines. What? If you think I'm going to fall for that story again, you're straight. Oh, Wilson! Just look at him, Mother. Isn't he a...
My goodness, Henry, that's the biggest fish I've ever seen.
Well, just wait a minute, Mrs. Aldrich. He's 8.5 pounds.
You caught him all by yourself?
Well, we didn't actually catch him. If you were Mrs. Aldrich, you wouldn't believe it. But we were walking along in the middle of nowhere, see, and all of a sudden, there he was, tied to a tree.
Now, Homer.
Honest, Mother. Hey, Henry, we haven't measured him yet. Oh, boy, come on. I bet he's 2 feet long.
You have to swing it around like that, dear?
Did we have him mounted, do you think? What? We're just to eat him?
Henry!
Sam, is that you?
Alice, where's Henry? I just keep your sense of humor, Sam. What happened to our front walk?
Sam, what's happened to you?
Let me tell you something. A few minutes ago, we started up the front walk, and I mentioned to Will how happy I was to get home. When all of a sudden, there we both were, flat on our backs. Who turned our front walk into a skating rink?
Sam, that front walk is your own fault. And may I ask whose clothes you're wearing?
They're my own, Alice. It's just a little shrunk, that's all.
My heavens, you're soaking wet.
Well, I tried out a bit in the car.
But Sam...
All right, Alice. All right, forget it. Just forget everything and let me lie down here. Move over, Sam.
Well, I'm certainly going to get you some blankets.
Father!
Henry, come in here.
Sure, Father. What do you think of this?
Floor. Do you want to get it dusty?
Henry, where did you get that fish?
We found it, Father.
Sure, out of Fletcher's Pond.
What's that? Fletcher's Pond.
Father, is that you on the floor?
Henry, was that fish by any chance tied to a tree? What?
Well, how do you know?
Well, what do you know about that? In that case, kindly give it to me.
You want to have a good look at it, Father?
It happens that that fish belongs to Mr. Brown and to me.
Oh, no, Mr. Aldrich.
Oh, yes, Homer. I'm sorry, boys, but we caught it and we tied the line to the tree.
But, Father, even if you did, we landed it.
Henry, someday I'll tell you what we went through today because of that fish. I'll hand it over to you.
But, gee whiz.
Henry!
Here, Father.
Well, let's see it, Sam. Let's have a good look at it. Isn't he a beauty? Oh, boy, he must weigh 10 pounds.
8.5. Come on, Homer. Where? I don't know.
Homer, why don't you go along with Henry and stop asking questions? Well, do you think we should mount him? Who, Homer? All right, Alice. Here, hold the fish, Will. I'll be right back.
Sure. And, Sam, we ought to take a picture of it, you know.
Hello.
Hello, is that Mr. Aldrich?
Yes?
I understand your son caught a fish.
No, sir. My friend and I caught it. It's our fish. After what we went through today, I'd like to see anyone else claim that fish.
That's very interesting.
Oh, say it's a beauty. A 10-pound bass. Let me tell you how we caught it.
You can tell me all about it in my office at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Who is this?
The game warden. You're not allowed to catch bass in January.
Now, wait a minute.
Another piece of fish?
I will, please. I paid enough for it. I might as well enjoy it.
Hasn't this been some day, though, Hen?
I'll say, I don't mind a bit you're taking the fish away from me, Father.
Well, that's fine.
I've got something much better. Homer and I were cleaning the fish, see, and boy.
What a day for miracles.
I'll say. Guess what we found inside it, Mother?
What, dear?
It's something I've always wanted, a penknife.
What's that?